Live from beautiful downtown Bastrop, it's time for the Stage Select, starring Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
What could this possibly be? Seems a lot like a podcast. Wonder what specifically talking about video games. With your hosts, you're in good hands, not more of the same. Now we'll jump right in. So expect the unexpected and more. Now we'll get grooving. There ain't always gonna walk through the door. There just might be some strategy in this chest. Having fun with our special guest. Time for Stage Select.
And here are your hosts, Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
Welcome, one and all, to the Stage Select. I'm Julian Titus.
And I'm Justin Ham. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted everyone to know that I'm really concerned about hand sizes. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the candidates for the presidency would be very triggered by that.
Yeah, well, Jewel might have some things to tell them, you know?
That's right.
They should listen to more Jewel. And
Man, I think it's hands that I was really bummed when I bought the CD because it's not the radio version of it, and I don't
really?
know how to get the radio version. I don't know if it's that song. There's one song that was on the radio by Jewel that I loved.
Okay.
And then when I got the album, I was like, this isn't the version that I listen to all the time on the radio.
Interesting.
It's weird. Like,
I've never bought a Jewel album, I'll be honest.
no, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. No, honestly, when she first came out, I liked her a fair amount. I mean, she's not bad.
But she's like very much a lyrics artist.
Yeah, she's a singer-songwriter.
Yeah. That's way
except
more
that
up my street.
Yeah, except that one album where she was like doing weird pop shit, which I'm really not sure what that one was all about.
Yeah, she kind of lost her way because isn't she in country now? Also, like Michelle Branch.
I don't know what she's doing anymore. I haven't looked up anything about Jewel in quite some time, except the lyrics to Hands, which I recently did, which are confusing as hell. I mean that's okay. The lyrics are: "Our hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own." I'm like, okay.
No, she says, "My hands are small, I know."
No, they are. Our hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own. Next one, or our own. I'm sorry. That's the last part, and then she does that. What you just said. My hand. Then she goes into that part, and then I'm like, I don't know. It's a very confusing song. I'm like, what? Whose hands are small? Somebody's hands are small. Okay, but they're not yours. But who? But they're ours. But they're not.
I think the gist of it was that like if we all come together, like you know, we can actually achieve shit.
It was after 9/11. I get it.
Is it that late?
I believe so. I want to.
I thought that song was like 98 or 99.
Let's look that up. I'm kind of curious. You might be right, but I'm pretty sure that was post 9/11.
I always thought it was more of like an environmentalist song.
I love that one is just right there. Oh, you're right. 98. Wow. I really in my brain thought that was like 2001, 2002, somewhere around in there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was okay. Cool. That 1998. Well, never mind. It was she could see the future. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're back.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. It's we were off a couple weeks. Very special thanks to Jacob Washington and Craig Winslow for holding the fort down.
You know, they had pitched it.
Podcast.
Yeah, they had pitched it to me. And I was like, well, you know, guys, I mean, put it together and I'll help you out and I'll try to help you with the editing stuff and all that shit. And they came through, you know, they did a good show.
It was an entertaining listen. I was surprised. I was impressed.
Yeah. I mean, for a first, you know, podcast, they didn't do too bad, you know?
Oh yeah. You know, I would listen again,
Yeah.
maybe not this year, maybe next year.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, maybe they'll make their own thing down the line and they can have their own feed and do all that stuff and people can go over there and listen to it or something. But yeah, on our feed, probably not for a while. But then again, I don't know. They don't, they're busy guys. So it'll probably be another year or so before they make another one.
That's the thing about new podcasters, right? Is that they're all gung-ho and then scheduling issues or whatnot, and then it's like so long has passed between episodes, and it's like, why are we even here?
I mean, they're busy fixing drive shafts and such. So
and ostensibly making a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a shit ton of stuff to go over in this episode, mainly because I've been chomping at the bit to talk to my good friend Justin Ham about video games. But before we get into that, one little piece of business is, as you're listening to this, the next poll for the next episode of the Suffer Select is up on our Patreon page. It is the spoopy season. Yeah. So the games that we have to choose from for this next episode of the Suffer Select is Alien Isolation and Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. The stipulation being, for either game that wins, we cannot look up any guides. Yep. We have to play the minimum of 2 hours, if not more. It depends, but minimum of the 2 hours that we've set for ourselves with no help. Yeah. So, Justin thinks that Alien is going to come out on top. I personally think Castlevania is because of that stipulation, but we shall see.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like, no, I know in my heart that I'm going to end up buying Alien Isolation. I already looked up the price for it.
Yeah.
So I haven't bought it yet because we're going to wait, but.
Yes. Now, if you would like to know, or if you would like to influence the outcome of that, every paid patron can vote for as low as $1. You can get in there and, vote for a game, but you do have to be at least at the $3 tier to listen to the episode when it goes live. So just keep that in mind. Yep. But with that out of the way, I was on vacation, which is why we were off for the last couple of weeks. Yep. Technically, I could have recorded last week, but we had already kind of given the slot to Sweet Tea Games. Yeah. And also, I was just kind of, it was nice to have 2 weeks off of editing.
It was kind of nice, yeah.
Yeah. And as I had said, because my car is working reasonably well, I'm still going to have to be seriously looking at getting another car in the next 6 or 7 months. But I'm hoping that I can stretch it out that long, pay down some more debt, and kind of save up some money towards it. But I was able to drive over to the Springs and visit my friends. With a big part of that being, that I packed up my PS5, I factory reset it, got everything packed up in the box, brought it up there for them. They did not know that this was happening. I actually waited until because I got there, I ended up leaving earlier than I intended to. I was going to actually leave during the early morning and get there in the evening. But, right. I got off work earlier than I expected to. So I was like, I'll just go ahead and do my normal nighttime drive. So I decided to wait until her husband got home the following evening from work to actually say hey, here, I got this thing for you. Now, keep in mind, Justin, that this was not necessarily a super welcome surprise. So Shanna mainly plays Final Fantasy 14 and Theat Rhythm.
Right.
And then Joe is, we work together at Game Fellas. He used to be a pretty hardcore gamer. Yeah. But he doesn't really play much anymore. He's gotten really into selling Legos on eBay lately. Hey. So that's a lot of his free time. And they got a Switch last year, but he hasn't really played much on their Switch at this point. So, it wasn't oh, awesome. Right. It was okay, how are we going to have to set this up? This and that. It's don't worry. It'll be fine. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of issues with modern gaming that came to light as I was helping them set this system up that I don't see it because I'm so invested. Like I'm so in this, and I'm just so used to the way things are now.
Right.
And I'm plugged into everything. So we ran into issues that I did not expect to run into.
Okay.
So the first thing was, okay, you know, I remembered transferring my data from my PS4 to my PS5. I remembered it not taking that long.
Uh-huh.
But their internet is not nearly as good as my internet was, even back at my last apartment in 2020.
Right.
So it was going to be like 10 hours just to transfer the system data, the profile data, the saved files, and then only 2 games. I was only going to install 14 and Fiat Rhythm.
Right.
That was still going to take like 10 hours.
Yeah.
And like partway through, I was like, you know what? Let's fuck this. We're going to abort. We're just going to transfer over the system and profile data, and then we'll do a fresh install of 14. Yeah. So, you know, we did that. It still took longer than I would have expected to just transfer the system data over.
Right.
But then once that was done, you know, we put in the disk for 14. That took like 5 hours
I
to
believe
like
it.
download and install. But the reason there is because it's not just like installing what's on the disk. It's also installing 4 other games, basically. Right?
Yeah,
and
that's a huge. Yeah, that's a huge
thing.
fucking thing. Yeah,
Yes.
no, I believe it.
Once that was done, there was the matter of upgrading it to the PS5 version.
Oh boy,
which is like another 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so got that done, and you know she got in there and looked around, and she was like, "Holy shit! Like I can see stuff now, like because like the fonts and everything are like much sharper and everything."
Right,
like that.
right.
Okay, here's. I love my friends, but like they are getting so old, and what I mean by that is like they like mentally they are aging like prematurely. Justin,
you'll have it
every time that I visit them lately. It's like, are you 65 now? What is going on? Like there is more of a disconnect like every time that I see them because like I'm so online and like I'm so up on things and they're like, we don't know what that means. Like we don't know what you're talking about or you know stuff like that. But like they bought a new TV last year, right?
Right.
And they sized up. They sized up to like a 42 inch and I'm like,
okay.
Why didn't you guys at least do like a 50? Like
right.
But that's fine. But they got a 1080p TV.
Okay.
Like they didn't even get like a 4K, which like, you know, 4K at that size, like the difference in price is negligible.
I know. I'm sitting here. Yeah.
Like I don't even know how they managed to find a 1080p TV in 2023.
Yeah. No, I'm a bit taken aback by that. But
yeah,
hey, God bless, man.
Yeah,
I mean even my dad is 70 and he was like, no, I want the 4K stuff and all this stuff and got all, you know, like he probably doesn't need that shit, but he's still, you know, he knew what that was at least. He was like, no, 4K, that's the one you want, right? That's the big thing.
If my mom was still here, like she would have been able to tell the difference with a 4K. She would have been like, "Ooh,
yeah,"
you know, like she would have been like she was really big on like up on her technology and stuff like that. So like they're not going to see like a lot of the benefits of a PS5, but even so, like she could tell the difference on 14. And of course, the big thing, right? The loading, because like so the funny thing is that the PS4 version of 14 doesn't load that much faster. Like I thought it did. But I guess not, because she was like, "Oh, this is kind of the same," and I was like, "No, that doesn't sound right." And I was like, "Okay, no, let's back out. Let's upgrade to the PS5 version." And so we did that. And then once we did that, I was like, "Okay, now go teleport." And she was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Okay.
You know? So
cool.
that was fine. And so then we had dinner and stuff like that. And I was like, well, and so the thing is, I also brought a handful of games for them to borrow. I brought Ratchet and Clank, Octopath Traveler 2.
Cool.
And Star Wars Outlaws, mainly for Joe, like because again, she mainly just plays 14. But I was like, oh, I want him to see Outlaws.
Yeah.
So we go to install Outlaws, and again, it takes a fuck ton of time.
Right.
Because,
yeah.
And this is my kind of thing that I was getting at is like just the way that modern gaming, the reality of modern gaming, right? And it's another thing that like again, I tend to like preload stuff because I know it's going to be a while, and so you like if a new game comes in like from Amazon or something like that, like a disc, like I will go throw that shit in like while I'm working and let it do its thing, so that like by the time I'm off work, it's ready to go.
Yep.
But you know we didn't have that luxury, so you know take the time of installing the game. It doesn't take nearly as long as 14, of course, but it's still a while because, you know, it installs the disc, and, you know, that's not nothing. Let's see, what came first? The first thing was, I was like, okay, it's ready to play, but it was downloading a patch. And I was like, okay, we'll just play without updating, because you can you can start a game without updating. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, let's just get into it. It can update in the background.
Right.
The game wouldn't let you play until it had downloaded the patch, Justin. I have never seen this before.
So that sounds similar to okay, on PlayStation 4, and I think 5 has the same thing. I think even Xbox has it too, where like you'll be downloading the game, and at a certain point in the download, it'll say ready to play.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if you're like me. I ignore that completely, and wait for it to fully go, because I used to have a similar situation to what they had, and I'd be like, oh, well, I can at least go in there and dick around and see whatever's there or whatever. So a lot of the time it's just like, you can play like the first chapter while it downloads in the background. But sometimes you get in there and it will basically just go, hey, it's still downloading. You're like, why did you even let me into the game then?
That's not what was happening.
Oh, really?
Because I have had that happen to me in the past.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about then. Yes.
Because games vary wildly on what ready to play means.
Sometimes it'll be like, oh yeah, you can have like an exhibition match in WWE, but it's with these two guys and that's it. That you can check out how the gameplay is, stuff like that. It'll be
in
a real
extreme cases. It's just the title screen, and you can't get past the title.
Yeah,
this didn't even load a fucking title screen.
Wow,
this just said no. There's a patch that needs to be installed.
Yeah,
you can't fucking play this game until the patch is installed.
Nice.
And then once the patch was installed and we go to boot the game up, it wouldn't let us play the game until she created an Ubisoft account.
Yes, that it will not do. Yes.
And now I already have one, so like that was not an issue for me, because the nice thing about that stuff is when you do go through the hoops, once it's linked to your account, like you don't have to worry about it again.
Yep.
But here's the thing. I don't care if they incentivize you to, like, you know, get into their bullshit account or whatever, and you get, like, some perks or whatever. It should not be a pre-fucking requisite to just boot your game.
Yep.
That is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was a thing. Because, again, like, I'm already plugged into all of these bullshit services. Because I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, I am
like you for the most part on console. But when I've done when I bought it on PC or whatever, it was like, hey, what's your Ubisoft account? I was like, I have no fucking idea what that is. It usually just kind of knows. So I guess I'll figure that out. Oh my god, buying it was now I have the stupid Ubisoft launcher and I hate it, and I just you know what the funnest part about the Epic Games launcher and the Ubisoft launcher is if you go, at least let me make sure I'm not just talking shit here, but I'm pretty positive that if you're like, I don't want these things on my fucking computer anymore, and you go to where they're at, I'm pretty sure there's no way to, like, there's no uninstaller, if I remember correctly. There's no way to just go uninstall this, please. I would like it to not be here.
Yeah.
There's the game launcher.
Is that like Ubisoft has like their own like bullshit like Ubi points achievements that are separate from the game's achievements.
Yes, so you don't get anything.
The overlay for that stuff looks abysmal. Like whenever I would get like a Ubi Connect like achievement when I was playing Outlaws, it was like the ugliest looking pop-up window because it's like super low resolution compared to everything else, and I'm like, I really wish that I could just disable this shit.
Yeah, I have like the Steam achievement pop-ups like all disabled and stuff because I don't like them. I like Steam computer achievements or PC achievements. Who cares? I don't even really care about them on Xbox or PlayStation personally.
But they have more oomph on
But they do.
Xbox
and like they display it and it's a whole thing, you know, it's kind of neat. I get it. I get why people like that stuff on console.
Dude, like one of the smartest things that Xbox ever did was when they added the rarity achievements. Like when you get a rare achievement on Xbox now, like that dopamine hits different.
Yes. Okay, I stand corrected on Ubisoft. There is an uninstall option on that. I'm pretty sure it's Epic that doesn't have one, and now I need to find where that's at.
Okay.
So go continue.
But, yeah, I mean, you know, and that's the thing, right, is that, like, you know, I maintain that, like, it's never been a better time to play video games. I am in 100% agreement with Vinny Caravella at Nextlander about that, right? Like, I have lived through a lot of, like, really bad video games and, like overall poor quality of video games, right? And a lot of stuff like that. You know, games are actually, like, they've never really been cheaper than they are right now. There's never been more variety in games than there is right now. But you know, that's not to say that we have not lost things along the way. And this type of shit, you know, seeing it through the eyes of like a brand new user that's not like totally dialed into this shit, like was very illuminating. You know, because it's like that thing you'll always hear around holiday season, right? Is that like the advice is like, hey, go set up your systems, you know, before Christmas so that, you know, your kids don't open their present and then have to like basically sit and wait all day long for this shit to like update and install and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing to say is that I did manage to pre-order my PS5 Pro while I was up in Colorado. So I do have one on the way. So it just means that I'm going to be without my PlayStation until November 7th. I didn't realize that's when it's coming out either. And that's perfect because that means that I can just hunker down and just pretend that the outside world is not exploding after the election and just be like, no, I just want to play my fancier PlayStation games, please. Now that's what I want to do right now. No. There's nothing going on outside. There's nothing going on. There's no news. There's no news. Right. It's just video games.
Right. I'm kind of in awe right now. So I'm just kind of digging around. So I was right. It's Epic's that there's no uninstall thing that I can find. But I did happen to randomly come across a thing where they just randomly have a bunch of fucking pictures just saved of like it's like every game in the fucking store just like save, like the image for it is saved on the local thing, which is really weird to me. Like I don't know how, but it's there.
That seems like a lot of space.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, and now, okay, it's in system files. All right, this is fucking wild. Like let's see how big this fucking folder is. It doesn't even want to tell me how big it is. That's
of
how
course
big it
not.
is. But yeah, it has like all the icons saved. Like I'm looking at fucking Callisto Protocol .png, Spider-Man.png, 2 different Callisto Protocol PNGs. Wow, what the fuck? This is so weird. Now I gotta know if Steam has this. I doubt it, but you know what? I won't. That's another time. I'm fucking
maybe do that in your own time. But
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is? I hate the Epic Game Store. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's weird because like when it first launched, I was like, okay, well, you know, like Steam had problems when it launched, also, but again, but the issue there is that but Steam launched like 20 years ago. What's Epic's real excuse, especially when they have like so much money off of Fortnite and shit, right?
Yeah.
Like they should have been able to pay to like get it like as good as Steam, like from the jump. And it's like, but I was like, okay, no, we'll give them some time. And it's like, well, no, I've given them some time, and it does not sound like it's gotten any better.
It's not really very great. It's just there's really no reason to go overdo it unless there's there's a couple exclusive games every now and then for PC, but like Alan Wake 2 was one.
I was shocked when because I didn't realize that Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, you had mentioned it, but it didn't click.
Yeah, it's not on Steam.
It wasn't on Steam, and it is coming to Steam because like that. Ooh, that game sold abysmally. Yeah. Which is a real bummer.
Yeah, it is.
Because I think that game is great.
It's really cool. I still should go back to it, but
yeah. And I'm wondering if like when it gets on Steam, if it's going to make a big difference, or if like the toxic, because like you know, so there are people that have, you know, legit issues with the game, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was surprised at like how cold all of Nextlander was on it,
Mhm.
because like they were talking about like, oh yeah, it just doesn't run well, like it doesn't play well, it doesn't control well, and I'm like, I haven't run into any of these issues myself, but then again, also like I kind of like the level of like it's just the right level of brain dead with like, the enemies and stuff like
That's
that.
kind of why I like it too. So
Yeah. So there is an element of that there, but even so, like I'm wondering if like just the toxic backlash of it is going to be enough to doom it.
Yeah.
Because like when I got to the end of it, I was like, man, I want a sequel sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's possible, and it doesn't help that like people just have a hate boner for Ubisoft, which I don't blame them sometimes because Ubisoft kind of shoots themselves in the foot a lot of the time. It's kind of their own fault, you know?
Oh, I guess I haven't talked that I finished it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, you didn't. I didn't. Yeah, that was kind of caught me off guard, but you're good.
I powered through it to finish it before I had to pack up the PS5.
Nice.
And in doing so, I ended up mainlining the back half of the game, which was interesting.
Okay.
Because it kind of bit me in the ass.
I believe it.
In the final missions. Because, you know, so the way that you, like, upgrade your character is not done through experience points or anything. You find these specialists, and once you do a quest to unlock them, and then you get, like, these different gameplay-related mini quests to complete to get all of their abilities. Which I thought was a really cool way of unlocking.
That's kind of neat,
abilities, right? Especially because, you know, it's going to... As you're playing the game, like, you're going to kind of naturally tailor your character the way that you're playing the game.
Right.
But I only unlocked, like I missed 4 of the 8 specialists.
Right.
And one of them was like a gunsmith that would have taught me better gun abilities and maybe better weapons. There was definitely like someone stealth related that would have taught me how to like stealth take down stronger enemies.
Okay.
Because there's like tougher enemies that cannot be taken down with just a stealth kill. Like you have to like stun them first.
Okay.
Like the Gamorrean guards on Tatooine.
Got you. Yeah.
Like you can't do that. The heavier droids can't be done that way. So in the final missions, like I was like, oh, I'm like woefully unprepared for this.
Yeah.
And it felt kind of cool because I had to get extremely creative with the way that I got through those areas. And it felt really cool, but I was also like, oh man, if I had actually 100%ed this thing, I would just be like waltzing through here.
Right.
But that would be a really cool feeling also, right? Because if I take the time to do all the shit, I want to make the last part of the game irrelevant.
Yeah. Oh, I love that feeling.
Me too.
There are people that don't like that, and I love that feeling.
Yeah.
I love just being like, oh yeah, this ain't shit anymore.
Dude, I
great.
stomped the last mission of Unicorn Overlord so hard.
Oh, me too. Yeah, yeah. I think the only thing that threw me off is there was at one point there's like if I remember it, they just keep sending guys after you, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? And then I figured out the thing that you're supposed to do. I was like more annoyed. It wasn't that I couldn't beat it. I was like dominating every fight. I was just like, what am I missing? Am I dumb? And then it was like, oh yeah, I am dumb. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah. I haven't reviewed it yet. I meant to do that when I got home, but I ended up getting really invested in playing other shit, which I'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But what have you been up to? Like, I've got other stuff, but you know, I'll kick it over to you and.
Well, let's see. Well, for the most part, I in listening to my friends Craig and Jacob talk about video games, I was like, well, I should check some of these things out. I mean, honestly, I was going to check out the Metaphor demo, no matter what. So I did. I did check that out. It came out the day that we were recording this. I only played it a little bit today. Because I tend to not play games that much day of the podcast unless I'm really trying to power through something.
Mm-hmm. Or if something has taken hold in a way.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens. So it depends on the game. But like this one hasn't fully gotten its hooks into me because I haven't really started it yet. Like I played that demo is long. I don't know.
Yeah, dude. I put about 7.5 hours into it. And I could have easily put in more if I had chosen to go into the dungeon, which I did not.
Yes. So I did, But here's my Persona brain starting to kick in, like from playing Royal like forever ago. Like now I'm like, no, I have to get to the part where it tells me that I can no longer progress in one day, or it's all for naught. So I went in there and I was like, I'm gonna do it first day. I believe in myself. I can do this. And then I got in there and got all the way to like the boss and was like, oh, I don't have the juice. I don't got it. Like I cannot do it. I'm going to have to back out and like either rest the day and come back. And I was like, that's not worth it. So I just kind of put it down. And then I was like, well, that's kind of awesome. Cause now I know what to expect when I'm going in. And now when I actually get the game, I will go and like, there's a couple like little like things I can do around the town during the days that I can like actually prepare, and I've already done that stuff. That's what I did today, actually.
Yeah, there's also a side quest dungeon that.
Yes.
So I did load the game last night, only to like once it unlocked, only to make sure that my save transferred okay.
Yes.
And then to set up the next day.
Yeah.
And so I chose to go to this optional dungeon, which I know is harder than the story dungeon, but I just kind of want to go in there and see what I can do.
Is that the one where that the lady at the shop gives you?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, that's the one I just unlocked too, and I was like, I'll probably mess around with that tomorrow when I actually go to do it.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
So I guess to explain, right? Like, you know, this is the next big RPG from the former Team Persona. Now they are Team Zero.
Yes.
I guess because they're doing more games than just Persona.
Yeah.
And it's their first, I guess this is their first stab at true fantasy, right? Because like the Persona games are very much like real world with supernatural elements.
Yeah.
But this is like a 100% like from the ground up new world that they've created.
Yep.
New races, like races specific to this game.
Yes.
It gives me such strong 7th generation BioWare vibes because it's got like this very in-depth codex that you add to.
Okay.
I'm like, just like with like the original, like, well, the whole Mass Effect trilogy, but specifically also Dragon Age Origins. That was the only one of the games that I actually did this with. Just like, oh no, I got to read this. Like I got to get in here and read what's going on here. Like every time that like a new entry pops up, like, and it's a very interesting setup.
Yeah,
it's very reductive to say, but it is fantasy Persona.
I mean, yeah, it is pretty much.
Yeah.
I kind of the one thing I think I might end up liking this one better than the Persona system is it's not so much focusing on like you got to get all these guys and they all have different stuff, like the Persona system, like that, like the system
like getting all of the Personas
and combining them. That shit's a little overwhelming sometimes. This one seems like no, these are more like job classes, but they're Personas, but they're kind of job classy. You know, and
they're way more job class. Than Persona,
and I'm kind of into that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, oh, that's a cool way to do that. Actually, I'm super into that.
Yeah. So what happened to me over the weekend was I decided, because I knew the demo had come out. It actually came out like a while ago. Yeah. But I was taking a page from Weston's book, which is no, just wait until like the game's about to come out, and then it feels like you're getting to play it early. I was like, okay, that's a good idea.
Especially this one because because of how long it is. Yeah.
And you know, I was also like behind on my Persona 3 months. And I was like, okay, let me go through September. And so I did that. And then I got through like up to like I think October 20th in Persona 3. I'm not going to talk a lot about that here. I think I'm probably good to not really bring it up again until I'm done.
Okay.
But I will say one thing about it is that I don't know what happened, Justin, because I've been like, you know, pretty meticulous about when I'm in Tartarus, like fighting every enemy that I see, you know, trying to get as much, because I've been trying to grind money as much as I can to make sure I have enough. Money is no longer a problem.
Right.
The problem now is that, and I don't know how this happened, but I am like under-leveled.
Woefully under-leveled, yeah.
Not woefully.
Okay.
I'm not struggling.
Yeah.
But stuff is starting to be a little tougher than it should be. And I started to like compare like, you know, so of course, you know, you can see like the network thing, you know, everybody's average level. But I also looked up a guide of like suggested level, like for bosses.
Yeah.
And the boss that I was about to fight at the full moon, I think the recommended average level was like 54. My average level was like 46.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And I actually managed to like, I don't know how this happened. I'm a little concerned. But I had a night where the thing they wanted me to do, I had already done.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Tartarus.
Yeah.
And so I went back in and I redid all of the previous, like I had the last 26 floors that I had done for that month. And even by the time that happened, I had only gotten my like average level up to about around 50.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, oh geez. Because like the grinding, it's not really a great game to grind in, because like if you're fighting enemies that are like a lower level than your main character's level, you're getting kind of shit for those fights.
Right.
But I didn't want to advance Tartarus because that would put me ahead of the guide. So I was like, well, okay, I'll take what I can get here, I guess, and hopefully Now, again, that mechanic I told you about last time, where you find that clock and it'll jump. You can pick two characters and it'll jump them to match the level of your main character.
Okay,
that is super helpful.
Right,
but you've got 9 characters.
Yeah,
you can only do that for 2. So, like, unless I want to keep going back to get that clock, like multiple nights in a row, it's not really an efficient way of using your time.
Right.
So, all that to say, going from Persona 3, which admittedly is a remake of a very old game,
yes,
to Metaphor ReFantazio, which is a very new game, extremely eye-opening. Like the quality of life in Metaphor and just like the flow of the game, and you know, again, we're super early, but even in those first 7 hours, I'm like, wow, this is super cool.
Right.
That I can do this.
Right.
Like, holy shit. Like, this feels so freeing.
Yeah. When you get into the dungeon proper, like the first big one, like they start even kind of like throwing interesting stuff related to like the action combat of the game, like where you're like, you know, actually comboing people outside of the actual turn-based part of it. Some of that stuff is not as good as you would hope it would be, because I mean it's not like the best system for that stuff, but it's kind of neat that it's there so every now and then. Like, yeah,
I was worried about that when they introduced it. I will say very funnily, when I got control of my character for the first time, I died instantly, because you're not supposed to fight those guys.
They I can't remember. I remember being like, oh, I'll just go fight something. Let's see what happens. And at some point I got sort of close to something, and the fairy girl, whose name I've already forgotten. Gallica. Yes. She was like, hey, nope, don't do it. And I was like, oh, I think I'm just supposed to run. And I was like, okay, all right, got it. Cool. Yeah. I'll do that.
Yeah. I have this issue. And I don't know what this says about like gamers as a whole, and also people that like RPGs, because so many RPGs in the last like maybe 10 or so years seem to have a lot of things, especially like re-releases. They're geared around like, yo, you can like bypass a lot of these battles, or you can speed the shit up out of these battles so that like they don't take very much time. And it's like, why are we so like keen on like skipping the battles or like trivializing the battles so much? Like that's a big component of an RPG,
right?
But I realized one thing that's really excellent about the ability to, because once you get to like weaker enemies that are lower level than you can just like you can just knock them out of the way to death. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's kind of a bummer, because like, you know, it feels like they're trying to like minimalize the combat, but then I was like, you don't expend any resources when you do it this way. Because even in a fight where you're fighting lower level enemies, you're probably still going to spend some magic in a Persona game, right? More
than likely. And also you get the experience, and you get items. You get the gold. You get everything that you would have gotten for that fight. So it's kind of awesome. Now, like, it still goes like by the Persona rules of like, hey, if you get jumped, like it's not going to go well. Right. It goes quite bad.
And I at first I thought the game was too easy, but then I got to the first like real boss of the demo, and I was like, oh no, this is just right. Like
Yeah,
that boss actually tested me.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, because it was literally like a point, because I think I only had two characters. Yeah, you only have two characters for that boss fight. And it was basically like one character attack, one character heal.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise, like I was not going to survive.
Yeah. I didn't have any problems up until I got into like the mines. And then it started to get hard for me.
I was impressed that Jacob said that he beat that dragon, because I had so much trouble with the boss before that dragon.
I'm glad he showed me how to kind of disclose the strategy, because I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I didn't really think about that, and then
and that's the thing that I have found for me historically with job-based games.
Yeah.
I never think of the strategy of making everybody the same job.
I
always try to make a well-rounded party.
Yes.
And that actually fucked me on a boss in Final Fantasy 13, where literally, like, the only way to beat it is there's a certain move that it does where if you are not all in Sentinel mode and do, like, their big turtle up move, you're not going to live.
Right.
And, like, I had to look up a strategy guide. It's like, oh, I never would have even thought of making everybody a Sentinel.
Yep.
So yeah, like but that's cool. I love that.
Yep.
I love the job system. I find it interesting because I feel that like the last two Like a Dragon games have been super inspired by Persona. Even though like Ichiban is obviously like mentioning Dragon Quest all the time.
Yeah.
The gameplay of those games is 100% Persona. But minus like the down system, but like just like kind of the way that like the flow of the battles work and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, especially okay. I can agree with that.
Even like you know like the coloring for like the health and magic is like straight out of Persona.
Yeah,
and stuff
I mean
Persona
5 especially has kind of like modernized. Like people have aspired to be that combat for turn-based stuff, because it just like the flashiness of it, like the flow of it, like it really does have a thing going for it, you know?
For sure, yeah. And I find it interesting that the job system in Metaphor is very much the job system from Like a Dragon, in the sense that like you have your main job, but then you can pick, you know, X number of moves from other jobs, and the number of abilities that you can pick grows over as you level up.
As you level up that job,
so like, unlike a Final Fantasy job system where you might be lucky if you can get like 2 additional abilities onto a job class, it's like, oh no, you can really
mess around here. Yeah,
this is going to be very fun.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to diving into it. I've liked what I played. Like even the storyline, it's pretty cool. Like
it is going to places that I was not expecting. I don't really want to spoil. It's a very early thing, but like there's a book that is detailing like this fantasy utopia within the world of Metaphor, and the fantasy world that it is depicting is very interesting.
Yes, I agree.
And there's other things that are happening that I'm like, I need to see where this is going. Like when your characters awaken to their archetype ability.
Oh, dude, I love that shit.
It's fucking rad.
Yeah, it's cool.
But there is a thing that they have that it's like, that shouldn't. I don't know why you have that, but you shouldn't have that, and I need to find out why you have that. Like, I'm so invested.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it doesn't do the normal Persona thing to me, where I start getting concerned about missing shit. But I've kind of made a self-pact that I'm just gonna fucking ride the storm and not worry about it. I'm just gonna kind of do what I can. I did read that that seemed to be like a thing that they're a little like trying to scale down on a little bit, the like the FOMO aspect of Persona games, where you're like, they're like, no, you can do everything. It'll be fine. Like you can come back to areas. You're not going to get locked out of anything or anything like that. And I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. But
even just your bonds, which are what they call social links here,
right?
They're like they go to level 5 instead of level 10. So but it seems there's more of them.
Yeah.
But even so, like it does feel, we're early, but it feels attainable. And also, like, when you do something that's going to, like, upgrade one of your, like, core abilities, sort of like, you know, in Persona, you have, like, you know, charisma and academics and that type of stuff. Here, you can actually see how much progress you're making in each of those.
Yeah.
And also, it feels like the rewards from doing one of those activities is much higher than in Persona, where, like, playing Persona 3, it's like, God, I have been leveling academics for so long. Well, I'm maxed out on all of them now, but it took so long to max out academics.
Yeah,
like, why?
I leveled up wisdom today in like 10 minutes. I was like really impressed. I was like, I sat on a bench and then I went and cooked a thing and talked to a man, and now I'm level 2 in this. Great, awesome,
which is what you need to go unlock this side quest.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh, great. That's that. I thought, because when she said level 2, and then I think I messed with something, like something went up in that aspect, and I was like, oh, that might take a little bit of grinding to get to level 2. I'm not sure how that's gonna be. And then I did that, and I was like, oh, never mind, we're good. I can just I should have just fucking done this when I was playing the demo. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to playing it. It's
hell yeah,
it's awesome. So, that's probably gonna be my weekend.
Me too. There's a couple issues that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So the first off is, like, you know, people are going to roll their eyes at this, but I've got a big ass TV, and this is like almost like a digital foundry thing. But, like, if I notice it, I think it's a problem, which is that there's, like, aliasing out the window, like in the environments and stuff like that. There's so much noise in the picture, like as you're just walking around, that it's actively distracting.
I agree. Are you using the sprint a lot? Because that one always gets me.
No. I mean, I do, but for the first couple hours, like, I was just kind of walking everywhere.
Okay.
And it was just like I was super noticing it.
You're playing on console, right?
Yes, I'm playing on Xbox.
All right.
I had to play. I had it pre-ordered on PS5, but then I was like, well, I can't play it on PS5 until November, and I don't want to wait that long. So
I get it.
I went ahead and got it on Xbox. Before I get into, like, the other issue that I have with the game, one thing that I wanted to say that I think is very important. This game, this is going to sound weird until I explain it. This game to me feels like a PS1 RPG.
Interesting.
And I'm saying that as a super positive.
Okay.
This game feels like, to me, if Square had opted to not put all of their eggs into the graphics basket over the last, like, 25 years.
Okay.
And instead been like, we'll scale back a little bit on graphics, not all, just a little bit, and invest more in mechanics and world building and like fleshing out the RPG part of our RPG, but still making a really fantastic looking game. I think Metaphor is a beautiful game.
It looks really good.
Beside my issues, like, just like with the picture quality.
Yeah, that's
like
that seems like I haven't had that problem. What it sounds like it's doing is I've heard this with the, like, Silent Hill 2 remake. It has the same kind of thing. What it's trying to do is probably trying to shoot for a frame rate. And what it's doing is it's scaling your resolution down, and you'll notice that shit to hit it. And that's probably what they're doing. I haven't had that on PC, like, where it, like, really fucks up. There's a couple times, like, in dungeons during the demo, and they, like, actually addressed it on PC. Like, we know there's, like, performance problems. We promise it's gonna be better when we get in there, but I haven't got that far into it, so we'll see. But, like, they did say something about that. But that's my guess as to what's happening on your end. I could be wrong, but
it's entirely possible. But the thing that really made me think that was I was surprised at how many anime cutscenes there have been so far.
Yes,
but I really enjoy that, and that's the part that it really harkens back to a PS1 era RPG for me. But, you know, anime cheaper than CG, and also fits more with the overall art style of the game.
Yeah,
and again, the art style of the game is phenomenal, and I you know, obviously, like, the menu design is impeccable, just like all of their games are. But even just, like, the character designs and, like, the look of the world and, like, the in-game 3D models are all excellent.
Yeah,
They're not they're not going for like Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 remake, like blow you out of the water.
No, it
with
looks
with the graphics.
They're
They're
kind
very
of
nice looking games.
Yeah, they go for like anime come to life a little bit, and and that's cool. I love that. That's awesome.
And this will tie into something that I want to bring up later. That's actually a talking point, but just keep that in mind for later because like I just was amazed at like this is the type of RPG that Square Enix should be making, and they don't make these anymore, and it's really frustrating. To the point that I'm like, I really hope that this like I have a feeling that this game can break containment in a way that we weren't expecting, like Elden Ring. Like, so I don't think it's going to sell Elden Ring numbers.
I could see you being right about that. Yeah,
but remember how like Elden Ring, it was like, wait. How has it sold this many millions of copies? Like, how did this get to everybody? I still don't understand. I would be curious.
And the thing I think would do it is like Persona 5 was a big thing, and it kind of did slowly break containment, and people talked about it and brought it up and really liked it, and word of mouth got around, and it really blew up, and especially and then Royal came out, and that was like a lot of people that weren't in already came in for that because they're like, oh, okay, well now it's it's got more stuff going on, and myself included, I was like, all right, well, yeah. The cat was out of the bag for me on the Persona games. I knew they were really cool, but I never like actually sat down and finished one.
Yeah, same. I had dabbled for a couple hours with Persona 4 Golden,
right? But
then it was Persona 5 Vanilla that was the first one that I played all the way through.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm a fan, right? Like Persona 6 comes out, I'm there day one.
And because Persona 5 was cool. It was cool as shit. And a lot of people like that style. So I'm guessing, that this one might be the one that people were like, oh, this is from those guys. Got it. Okay, cool. We're in. That's it. And it starts over. It doesn't feel like you're missing any lore. There's no number on it. So you're kind of starting with everyone else. So it very well could. It's already sold apparently 1 million.
In the first opening day. So
so that's great.
I don't know what their goals are with these games, but I know that for Sega and Atlas, as far as like their RPGs are concerned, 1 million is still a big fucking deal for them.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely see. My big complaint that I have so far, and we'll see how this bears out as the game goes on. I was super stoked to see that the main character actually has a voice and a personality.
Yeah.
Because normally their games have not, right? Like, you have like a silent protagonist, but you can choose their dialogue. And so you kind of get a sense of who they are, but they're not really, they're still kind of a self-insert. Yeah. But the character still seems written by people who aren't really sure how to write a main character that's voiced. So there's a lot of scenes, at least in the demo so far, where the character is kind of being talked around.
Yeah.
And like people are addressing Gallica like your fairy companion when you're right there.
Yeah.
And it's extra worrisome here where like the main thrust of this game is like, yo, you're going to try to run for king because here it's an election. And so I don't know how that's going to actually ultimately play
I don't either.
out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It might be kind of the same thing as a Persona game where they gave him a voice just for the things that you're choosing, and that's about it. Because it's really vanilla for the most part in that sense. But I feel like they were just like, we've never done this before. Let's try it out, and because I guess it makes sense for your character to actually talk because they don't really say much outside of the stuff that you're picking.
Yeah, but again, I think if it wasn't for what the thrust of the actual story is,
you're right.
Like running for this position of leadership where you need to rally the people.
Yeah,
that's where I'm kind of worried.
You're gonna do it through deeds, Julian, through the deeds of your heart, and
that's right.
And then the fairy's gonna be like, "Hey, you should vote for this guy," and they're gonna go, "Okay."
Yeah, yo. That fairy, she just plays music for you, dude.
That's pretty good.
Fucking great.
That music's real good. The music's real good. Yeah. I would like to describe the genre that I've put I'm not gonna say the majority of the music because that would be simply untrue, but like the battle themes and especially the first and the first the battle themes definitely this applies. It is Middle Eastern opera battle rap.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
It's funny that you said that last part specifically.
Yes.
So Pat unveiled a special custom animation intro for his Metaphor playthrough.
Okay.
And it's the same animator that has done his other, his main intro.
Yeah.
But it's the battle theme of Metaphor, but when the guy starts to do, like, the talk, the singing, there's an old guy that hops in with, like, a microphone, and he's totally doing, like, a rapping, like, motion.
Anybody out there that's like, that doesn't sound right, go in there and just in your brain, think of an Eminem verse. I'm not even like an Eminem fan, but it is the same cadence that they use on a verse in one of their songs. Like like the main battle theme especially, it's like he slowly gets more fucking into it as he's going, and you're like, this, like, I'm like, you're just like, I'm just sitting there like vibing, like, oh man, this motherfucker's spitting. This shit's crazy. Oh, I love it. It's great.
The one that keeps blowing me away is the theme from Academia, which is
that's
like the
really
place
good
you
too.
go to change your job. I posted the song in our Discord, in our jukebox, but it resonates so hard for me with this one song from this like Celtic album that I bought in high school that's based on The Legend of Deirdre. I actually have two albums about The Legend of Deirdre. One is an audio drama with music, but this is just like a full-on, just like score, you know, inspired by The Legend of Deirdre. And the opening song, it goes so, like, there's a part in that song, because, like, basically, like, the Academia theme, it's, like, very, like, tranquil. Yeah. But then at a certain point, it goes really hard with, like a choir.
Yeah.
And that song on that album does that, and I'm like, oh god, I could just like sit here for hours.
It's very good. I bought the big fancy version of the game, and it came with the soundtrack, so I'm very happy with that. I was like, when I seen it had that, I was like, oh well, I'm getting it. And look, cause at first I was like, oh, it's probably one of those, like, I hate when games do this nowadays, when they sell you the special edition, it'll have the soundtrack, and you're like, oh great, but then you read a little bit, it's like the mini soundtrack, not the actual soundtrack, and you're like, okay, but some of the really cool ones are not here, so that's okay. Well, this is a bit depressing and a letdown. Yeah. But this one, no, full fucking soundtrack. You can even boot it up in Steam, and it loads like the game, and has its own, like, almost like I don't know how to explain it, but like almost its own separate game where you just go through the songs of the soundtrack and can play them, but it has like its own UI and art and shit going. It's really kind of cool. I was like, this is kind of awesome.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's real good. I've liked all the music that I've heard so far. It's quite good. Soundtrack of the year for me right now, anyway. Like, and I'm not even all the way through the game. I'm like, no, this is fucking great.
Yeah. I'm super in, and I've been avoiding most so I did watch like a couple of the video reviews, but I basically kind of listened to them because I don't want to know who joins the party.
Right. Because I've had a couple that I've just randomly, because shit will pop up on my front page, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what their deal is or what they act like or anything, but I know I've seen them, you know? Yeah.
That's been a fun part of Persona 3, was like not knowing who was going to join the party. And I've got more stuff to say about that as I finalize my thoughts, but I have a few more months, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
But this is interesting because, like, I'm starting to learn that there's a lot of people who play video games that aren't, like, media literate. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, like, you know, I'm like some savvy media literate guy, but because a lot of stuff goes over my head or I don't understand certain themes.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, this concept of, like, oh, I hate that games are so political now, and it's like, my dude, like, games have been political for a really long time, because, like,
media in general has been political for a long time.
Yeah, it's like, you know, people who don't understand, like, what X-Men represented or what Star Trek represented. You know, it's like they just missed all of that shit somehow.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is very blatant in what it's saying.
Oh yeah.
And I love it. Like, it's got some fucking balls, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be curious. I mean, I've already started to see some of the, like, oh, I can't believe that, like, Atlas went woke. And it's like, did you pay attention to the shit that was going on in Persona 5? Like,
Oh man, those like I said, the people that I just hope never have fun with video games again.
they never will, Justin.
It's great. I love that. I love that.
'Cause,
I love
yeah.
that for them.
And then they have the audacity to talk about, you know, that, like, these games are catering towards the snowflakes that can't deal with this and that. And it's like, you are the ones that cannot deal with anything.
Yeah, that's usually how that goes. Yeah, exactly how that goes.
Don't get me wrong. There are definitely, like, you know, people like that skew as far left as I do that will take umbrage with certain things in video games where I'm just like, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think those people are very few and far between. And I think for the most part, most people are just like, you know, I don't really like that they did this, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Where on the other side of the spectrum, it's like, yeah, you know, like, oh, that video of the guy who got, like, so bent out of shape when, like, they added like choice of pronouns in Starfield and just lost his shit. And it's like, you're going to have a heart attack over a video game.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I'm concerned you might have a heart attack ranting about this. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal, dude. Like, just, you know, just select whatever you want your character to be and get over it. Like,
it's fine.
It's never even an issue after that.
Like, it never comes up. It's totally okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right, but apparently not.
Nope.
Oh man, what a world. But yeah, Metaphor ReFantazio, pretty good game so far.
Yeah, I'm stoked to play more.
Me too. Like I said, that's what I'm probably doing almost all day tomorrow until I stream something. Which I still have to finish Star Trek.
Yeah. My friend Blissy told me about, like, a pretty funny thing that happened to you on your stream, but I am officially out on the Star Trek streams because I want to play that game.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't even go back and watch it.
It's so like, okay, I'll what my last stream was fucking hilarious. I couldn't get OBS to start. I couldn't get it to go, and so I sat there for, like, I don't know, 2 hours trying to get this thing to fucking work. And by the time I was like, okay, I think you should give up. This isn't going to work. Like, we'll just do it next week. It's okay. I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh, well, I'll put a thing on the Discord and be like, I couldn't get the thing to work. And then I think I went to the bathroom and I came back and I was like, I can't go to sleep until I fucking figure out what's going on with this. My biggest thing was, is it me or is it on the Twitch end, right? That was what I was trying to figure out. And all I did was I went and changed one fucking thing that I never messed with before, which was what server I went off of, because I always had it set to auto and it worked perfectly fine. But then I switched it this time to just a different, because I read, out of all the solutions that I read and tried that didn't work for me, I was like that one. It was like, it might just be this, and then because it didn't work for the person that was having the problem that I was having, but it worked for me. And when I switched the fucking server, and I was like, oh, and then I got on there and was like, oh well, hi, I'm here. I didn't mean to do this. So it was basically 20 minutes of me going, I guess I'll play a game because, well, fuck it. And then I started Star Trek up, and then I forgot to turn the audio on for the game. And then when I realized it, I was like, it's not meant to be. I'm just turning this off at this point. I'm going to bed. We'll try again next time. So if you missed that stream, don't fucking worry about it. You missed nothing. I'll catch you up on the 10 minutes that you did.
No, the one that she told me about was where that phaser blast, like, kind of just like cut
that
through,
shit
like,
was
all
great.
of the cutscenes.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, I don't know how. I know how it happened. It's because it switched scenes while the girl was shooting it. And so it just never went out of that. But I couldn't believe that it just kept going the way it did. It was great. It was phenomenal. Oh man, the phaser mishap is worth the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else have I been doing? I've been playing another game that was suggested by the Sweet Tea Games podcast called, and get ready for this one. If you thought Metaphor ReFantazio had a weird fucking name, get ready for 1000 lowercase x resist, all in capital letters, all one word. I keep calling it 1,000 times resist. I don't
That's
really
how
know.
it's supposed to be pronounced.
Okay, I've never really looked into how it was supposed to be pronounced.
This is a weird game in the sense that I have heard it talked about on multiple podcasts this year, and it refuses to stay in my brain. I don't even remember what Jacob and Craig talked about it last week.
All right. Well, I don't know if you'll remember this either, but I definitely, my plan for this one is I am going to probably end up streaming this after after I get done with Star Trek. It's not the longest game, and I really want to play it again.
Okay.
The story is great. It's really, really good. The weird things about it is it doesn't look particularly great. Like graphics wise, it has a look to it, but it's not super great. It's like it's an indie game, you know, and they did what they could. It almost comes across like when you look at it, you'll think it's an action game, and it's super not. There's no combat or anything really to speak of in it. It is a walk around and talk to people thing. There's probably a better way that they could have done it, but this is how they did it. And like there's a lot of times where you go to like the main hub base thing a lot, and it is, the layout of it is fucking awful. Like it is so bad. Like navigating it is a pain in the ass, and I really never got fucking used to it. There's one area, and when I stream it, I will point it out because I guarantee I'll get lost in it again. Then they added it's a problem when they added a map as a patch. Now granted, they did a cool stylized map for it, which I do appreciate. So maybe it was part of the plan. They didn't get to add it.
Hey, look, Bethesda didn't see fit to add a map to Starfield initially. So, you know, it's the style of the time.
Yeah, apparently. I guess they figured they have a lot of signs pointing where to go.
They're going for the control thing.
Yeah, they have that, and they have a lot of they have like a thing up top which is basically the Skyrim thing, where it's like, hey, if you follow these little navigation things up here, it'll lead you to certain things, and where the important ones are colors, and the other ones are, you know, they're all the side quests. Like basically your side quest is like, go talk to everybody here, and it's like, okay, great. And like the space that they ask you to do it is like bigger than it should be. And I can't describe that until you go in there and play it. It's one of those things that you're immediately like, there's just why?
Is it kind of like, you know, the last couple chapters of Until Then, where it's taking like longer to do stuff than you feel it should?
Yeah, a little bit. It's not, you
know, I can deal with that. I dealt with it in Until Then.
I'll tell you this. It's not like that. It's not like the mid point, like I know what you mean. It's not like that. This is very specifically almost a beginning of the game problem. It actually stops doing that toward the end. Like it actually kind of it slows that part of it down. It's really good though. Like other than the stuff I just complained about, and then there's also
Okay, I get that it's kind of like a you know.
Yeah.
I like to call them day in a life games, not walking simulator, right? Like, you know, kind of.
Yeah. I'm going to call this one specifically like interactive narrative game.
Okay, yeah. But what's the setup? Like, is it sci-fi? Is it like
sci-fi more? For sure? Yes.
Okay.
100%. The setup is. It starts out with you killing some lady that you don't know who the hell they are. or the character that you're playing as, and then you kind of flash into something else that happens. And basically you are a character named Watcher, and you very quickly figure out that the lady that you killed is the person that all these other girls that are in this place are cloned from. You are all clones of them.
Okay.
And now the core premise of it is, hey, you're the Watcher. You need to basically see things. Everybody has their purpose. So there's the Watcher, there's the Knower, there's a character called Bang Bang Fire, who's kind of the fighter character. There's the Fixer, and and Healer, so nurse or doctor character.
And you must not interfere.
And they're all color coded like the Power Rangers. And it sounds dumb, but it actually works super well. So you're the Watcher, and you need to get close to the character that they all call the All-Mother. That is the lady that all these people are cloned from, and they've given you life in this society and all this stuff, and you're going to go and dig through their memories. And that's kind of all I'm going to say about it. And from there, it kind of goes. Okay. The other big thing, the reason the world ended, because they kind of do bring this up pretty early, is there was an alien race that came. They were called the I've already forgot their fucking names, but they're an alien race showed up. They introduced a disease that wiped out everybody, and this one person was immune from it. That's why you're all cloned from her, because that's how society survived. That's it. You're the only ones left. And it kind of goes from there. I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting in chapter 1. I can see where it's going. Chapter 2 is what was the one that got me. I was like, okay, all right. This is going places I did not really think it was going to go, and that's really interesting. So, yeah. 1,000 Times Resist has some shit going on.
Is it on console or is it only PC?
I want to say it's only on PC and Switch. Yeah, I think it's PC and Switch.
See, that's the thing, because now we're getting in, so I actually just booked our final guest for our Game of the Year episodes today. And now I'm starting to get into okay, I really got to start mopping stuff up. And there's certain smaller games that I want to hit up. So that one I might add to the list, although it being only on PC is an issue. I want to check out I Think You Should Leave, because I know that's really short. Or wait,
You Should Leave? Are you talking about Thank Goodness You're Here?
Thank Goodness You're Here.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah,
you should, I want to play that. That one is short. Yeah, you should.
And I saw enough on your stream to be like, oh, I definitely want to play this.
Yeah, you should. It's good. I love that game.
I'd like to check out UFO 50, but that seems like it's actually a bigger time sink than.
Yeah, I keep waffling on that one myself. I know I'm sure there's probably one or two that I could get into, and then I don't know. Now Metaphor's here, and I'm kind of probably going to sink a lot of things into that. Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about it this week, but I did play through 95% of Space Marines or Space Marine 2. I am at the final part of the final level, but I'm but Metaphor though. Right. Yeah, you played enough to get the point of it. Yeah, and there's other stuff where it's okay, now that I don't have my PS5, there is stuff on Xbox that I want to mop up. I want to finish Kunitsugami. I've still got Persona to keep going with. And then when the PS5 comes in, one of the first things is I want to hop back into Final Fantasy, because this is a perfect reason to do so. Right? It's going to be a big showcase for it. It's one of the bigger upgrades from for the PS5 Pro version. But one thing is that I didn't think that I would be able to find one this soon, and I'm glad that I did. But I was able to find a disc drive. Oh, nice! On Amazon. And also I picked up Silent Hill 2 Remake because I had credit card miles. Or credit card reward points. Or whatever. I got you. Yep. So I used that and I was able to cover it. So that's taken care of. So I was worried that when my PS5 Pro came in, I was going to be stuck to just my digital games for a while.
But that's not the case. Like right off the bat, I can start playing all of my stuff. So
Nice.
But in the meantime, there is like Xbox and maybe some PC stuff that I want to like get into. But Metaphor though, Metaphor is going to be a big commitment. And I have a feeling that because like literally like after I finished the demo, I was sitting around. I was playing Space Marine 2, a phenomenal game, and I'm like, I guess this is fine because it wasn't Metaphor. It was like I wanted to play Metaphor so badly, like after that demo finished.
I think I played this one before the demo came out for that. I believe I can't remember exactly the order. Oh, I know when I played it. So funny story. Julian went on vacation and I got the weeks mixed up. And so I showed up to do a podcast on my own. And then, and I was like, and very slowly, like 10 minutes after I did that, I was like, oh wait, I think I got it wrong. And I remember this specifically because I was super into fucking Thousand Times Resist, and I was mad that I was gonna have to do this fucking podcast because I was so into the story. I was like right towards the end, like I was like, oh man, I got like 2 or 3 hours left. I really got to know where the fuck this is gonna go. And then I realized, like after that 10, I was like, oh, it was this week. Let me make sure. Let me double check. And I
that's
texted
when you texted
him.
me.
Yes, that's when I texted you. and I was like, let me double check. And then sure as shit, I was like, oh, thank God. All right, cool. Get off of here. We're fucking going in on that shit. That's awesome. So yeah, like I was super into that game. Like I was and I can't recommend it enough, but at the same time, it definitely has its like fucking quirks, man. Like it really does. But yeah, like my prevailing theory has been that like at some point during that game's like first stages, it was definitely an action game. And then slowly they went, where do we put the action though? Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to put it. And then they're like, okay, what if we just didn't do that then? Let's just take all that out and we'll just make it this. And it works super well. It's a very good game. Better than I thought it was going to be. When you look at that game, I was like, this isn't going to be very good, is it? And then I kept looking at every Steam review is like, this is one of the better narratives I've seen in a while. And I'm like, oh, all right, fine.
No,
fuck it.
That's the thing is that every time that it's come up on a podcast, like it's immediately been like followed with like, it's one of my favorite games I've played this year.
Yeah.
But I keep getting confused with Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which is like, I know that is not my bag.
No. Yeah, me neither.
And I have no interest in playing that game. And so but I always get them confused.
Right.
So I kept envisioning that, it's this like really puzzle heavy thing that I
don't
want to mess with.
There's really no puzzles in it. It is basically, hey, go talk to some dudes. And they do different things with the way they present it, which is really cool. Like, it is definitely kind of like Nier inspired in certain spots. It just in the presentation. You know how like Nier would do like the like suddenly this is the perspective now, like that sort of switch. They do a lot of that, and it works pretty well.
One of my favorite parts of Nier.
Oh yeah, like, it's awesome in that, for that reason. They do a lot of that. They even do like some ones that Nier definitely doesn't do, which is really cool. Like my favorite bits in the game are like. You wouldn't expect them to do what they did. It's really cool. Like nice. Great game. Like I said, I'm gonna stream it probably just for you, motherfucker. like, just so you don't have to get booted up on PC and play it, because that's really all it is. It's like it's Steam in that, and really all you need to know is the narrative.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I might still grab it. I mean.
You could.
I do play stuff on my PC. I did finish Videoverse while I was on vacation, but I'm gonna save that for Game of the Year. Because we do have a category where that fits.
Oh yes, we do. I forgot about that. Yes,
where I can talk about it in depth, because I also don't want to like what I said earlier in the year. That all still applies, but like really the rest I have to talk about does have to do with like the ending. So like I don't no reason to say it here, but loved that game. Like
it's good.
Now, like one thing that is different is that like this actually might have made it into my top 10 last year. Like now that it's over. So I'm glad that we have a place for games like this in our Game of the Year discussions, because Like, I mean, you had it on your list last year, but still, like I want to be able to like say my piece about it as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, 1,000 Times for this really good game to conclude. Yeah. it's really good. People should, if you haven't tried that yet, you should try it. It's good.
Yeah.
The Stage Select is made possible through the support and funding of viewers like you. Here are our wonderful patrons.
Let's go ahead and thank our lovely patrons.
Oh, yeah, sure, why not?
Episode of the month.
Let's do that.
And the last couple episodes, like I have been remiss in thanking our patrons until towards the end of the show. But because it is the first episode of the month, it is time to thank all of our lovely patrons. And so this month we will begin with our executive producers tier. We have Big Baker.
We have Bookie.
We have Casey Curran.
We have David Portnov.
We have Dennis Robertson.
We have Eric Peacock.
We have Exrian.
We have Game Johnson.
We have Joel Thoman.
We have Matt Jorgensen.
We have Philip P.K. Becker.
We have Raymond Crum.
We have Stephen Lobo.
We have Xavier Krager.
Yes, and at the associate producers tier, we have Andrew Wilson.
And we have John Gholson.
Yes. And at the key grip tier, we have Weston from Big Nerd Gaming.
And at the free tier, we have Reese Duff.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you to all of you for supporting the show, including free. It's cool to have people following us for free. Check out the stuff that we're doing there. Again, I write I write reviews and I post those for free. Also, later on, I'm going to look into possibly having certain exclusive episodes be available. I now have an option on Patreon to sell content piecemeal.
Oh, neat.
So I'm going to try that out.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
After our Infinite Wealth spoiler cast goes up, I'm going to put that up later on for if you just want a one-off, you can just buy that for a flat fee and have that episode.
There you go.
Go follow us and see what we're doing over there, and then hopefully we wow you enough to want to support the show with a little bit of cash. But when I got home from vacation, I did something that I was trying to do with my friend Joe, but he didn't. Oh, yeah. There was actually things about my vacation I forgot to talk about in the Springs.
Oh, you're good.
We did a lot of fun stuff. I went hiking at Helen Hunt Falls, which is a thing that I love to do when I'm up there. We did a.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Helen Hunt Falls.
You heard correctly. No relation.
Huh.
It's a waterfall. There's water.
Yeah.
Waterfalls.
I imagine. Yes, but not the actress Helen Hunt.
No, it's not the fall of Helen Hunt.
No, I didn't figure it was, but they named a waterfall after Helen Hunt, or
no? I'm pretty sure that the waterfall was there before the actress Helen Hunt.
I'm not debating that the waterfall was there before her. I'm debating whether they named it after her.
I don't believe so.
In her honor. She was so famous that they're listen, fuck whoever this was named after before. What are we calling it? Just, this waterfall? No, Helen Hunt Falls. That's it now.
I'm fairly certain that's not the case. I could be wrong though.
I really hope that they start naming more things after the sitcom Mad About You or whatever the fuck it was that she was on. Why not?
Paul Reiser Canyon.
Paul Reiser Canyon. That's whose name I was trying to think of. Yeah.
We have our title.
Yep. Nailed it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted. I was just I'm sorry. Hold on. I need to dive here.
I'm so used to saying it that it doesn't register anymore. It's oh no, you're right to want clarification.
Yeah, okay.
We went to the Denver museum, and so this was a part. So there's a whole section where it's they have the animal displays from different environments and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this part, they have these kind of rocking chairs that you could sit in. There's a bunch of teenagers just sitting in the chairs kind of hanging out.
Okay.
But one of the displays near them was this snowy kind of tundra area with these 6 white wolves as part of the display.
Okay.
And so I pointed at that to Joe and Shannon. I said, inside of me there are 6 wolves. And that made all the teenagers laugh, and I felt really good about that.
That's good. You're killing it. Good job. Good job.
We did a Harold and Kumar movie marathon and had homemade sliders.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun.
That's good.
But one of the things that I wanted to do with Joe, which didn't happen, was I wanted to go with him to see Transformers 1.
Ah, okay.
Because he's a big Transformers fan, as am I.
Mhm.
But it's almost impossible to get those two to the theaters, especially post-pandemic.
I don't blame
Or,
you.
well, we're not post, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you.
And part of it is that, that first trailer looked god-awful, Justin.
Okay, I didn't
I
see
saw
it,
the first
but yeah.
trailer of it, and I was like, oh no, they turned Transformers into Guardians of the Galaxy, and I fucking hate it.
Oh boy.
Like, it just had, like, the worst type of that MCU humor on display.
Okay,
And I was
gotcha.
like,
Yep.
oh god, no. And, and I do have to remind myself, it's like, Transformers is and always has been for kids, right?
Yes, it is.
I am colored by the fact that the comic books are what have grown up with me over the years, and that's the larger part of what I have consumed of Transformers as an adult is the comic books. But the cartoons and stuff like that, even the movies to a degree, right? Like the Michael Bay shit is still mostly for kids,
Right.
But the second trailer looked a lot better, and then I started to hear like some really good buzz about it. I was like, okay, now I gotta know.
Mhm.
And for those who don't know, Transformers 1 is a prequel movie that is set entirely on Cybertron. This is actually the origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Oh, okay. All right,
And
cool.
it actually borrows a lot from certain bits of the IDW comics, which are my favorite comics of Transformers.
Yeah.
And like it pulls what it needs to from various aspects of Transformers lore in a way where I was like, these people know their shit.
Mm-hmm.
They knew exactly what to pull, and they know these characters. This is the first movie representation since 1986 of these characters that is these characters, Justin.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So this starts out, it's not Optimus Prime and Megatron, it's Orion Pax and D16, which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe D16 was Megatron's Diaclone designation before the Transformers toy line was even a thing. Because the original Transformers toy line was just cobbled together from two other toy lines in Japan that they mashed them together. That's why some of the first like Transformers toys have weird things, like Dinobots have like places for pilots.
I remember that now
Yeah.
that you mention it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because they were part
they
of a separate
did.
toy line.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Skyfire / Jetfire, he was a different toy line.
Yeah.
That's why he looks like a Macross ripoff, because he wasn't even
Right.
part of either toy line.
Mhm.
So that they just kind of cobbled stuff together. So I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure D16 is a reference to the Diaclone version of that toy, which I thought was very
Okay.
smart.
That is cool.
And they're both worker bots. They're miners that are mining Energon, because there was this big war with the Quintessons, which I was shocked that they mentioned Quintessons.
Quintessons. I feel like I know that name.
They were in the animated movie, the rotating heads.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to sound stupid. Okay, all right, cool, awesome.
Which in the original cartoon, like after the movie, like the lore actually turned out that the Quintessons created the Transformers.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a different telling of that. Like when you do see the Quintessons, they're a very different design. And also it's more of just like this actually pulls from the fucking Marvel Comics version.
Okay.
Which is that Primus, the god of the Transformers, he transformed into Cybertron and then birthed the Transformers.
Right.
Which is like, holy shit, I can't believe they brought Primus into this. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that Les Claypool would participate in these things, but you'd be surprised, You
never know what you're going to get.
You never know.
Like,
you never know.
So Chris Hemsworth is playing Orion Pax, which is an interesting choice.
Okay.
I will say, so I think if I have one complaint about the movie is the characterizations of Orion and D16 at the beginning of the movie, because Orion is the rule breaker. He's like this happy-go-lucky, kind of fly by the seat of his pants type of bot, where D16 is a by-the-book, follow all of the rules type of character.
Okay.
Where, and they are pulling a lot from like the Megatron origin story of the IDW books, where in that story, they depict Megatron as a worker that gets fucking fed up of the way that the working class is being treated by the Autobot ruling class, and basically just becomes a revolutionary that rises up, gets bots behind its cause, and then rises to power and, over the course of time ends up becoming exactly that which he hated.
Right.
But by that point, he's too far gone.
He's too far gone, right.
This does have elements of that, but I would have preferred at the beginning because, dude, there's a moment when D16 becomes Megatron. You see it in his face, and it is amazing. It's fucking chilling. But there isn't as much of a ramp up to that moment as I would have liked.
Okay.
There's a story moment partway through where he starts to shift, but I would have liked him to already start to have this discontent that's simmering under the surface,
right.
at the beginning that just starts to escalate. But having said that, the big deal here in Transformers 1 is the miners. They don't have transformation cogs. They were born without transformation cogs. That's why they're the working class.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a very big classist thing where, the ones who can transform, they're bigger, they have their alt forms, they're the ruling class, and the workers are treated like shit, really.
Right.
And you see that a lot of the Autobot, dude, okay. I'm going to get choked up like I always do. So I know I've told you this on the old show, but the 1986 Transformers movie, the first time that I saw it in the theater, is a vivid memory that I still have to this day.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically when Ironhide transforms at the beginning of that movie, the flutters in my stomach, because I was like, it's Ironhide, and he's on the big screen.
Right.
And he just transformed, and I was so excited. This movie gives me that so much.
Nice.
And a lot of it at the beginning was holy shit, there's Wheeljack. And there's Red Alert. And there's Sideswipe. And I could recognize them, dude. Because they didn't look like those abominations from the Michael Bay movies.
Right.
They looked like the Generation 1 versions, albeit, they're smaller and they don't have a lot of the armor and stuff that you associate with them. But you could totally pick them out. And I was like, holy shit, that's them. This is so amazing. And I'm not going to spoil the movie. It tells a really good story of how they become who they are.
Right.
I will say that Hemsworth does a great job of going from this kind of happy-go-lucky character to Optimus Prime. By the end of the movie, he sounds like a much more serious character.
Okay.
And the voice actor, I forget the name of the actor, but the guy playing D16/Megatron,
yeah,
incredible.
Nice.
And for you in particular, if you needed any other reason to see this movie, they cast Steve Buscemi as Starscream, which is
that's perfect. That's perfect. That's
that
good.
so
That's good
good.
casting. That's good casting. That's good casting.
Yeah. Lawrence Fishburne plays Alpha Trion, which is also just incredible. I kind of wish that had been played by Peter Cullen, because I have to check the credits later on, but because I feel that he was in it for a split second, but I'm sure. Because obviously I don't want them to play Megatron and Optimus here. It's a pass the torch type of movie.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them as characters in there. Frank Welker might be Soundwave in this one.
Okay.
Again, I have to check. I didn't want to sit through the credits when I watched the movie, but dude, I was blown away for the whole movie, and I just kept thinking about it afterwards. I wanted to see it again that week. I saw it on a Friday, and I texted friend of the show, John Gholson. I was like, hey, just saw Transformers 1. Wouldn't mind seeing it again this weekend if you're down. And then he just didn't get back to me, but I was like, oh man, I really wanted to see it. I pre-ordered it on disc, but
oh, nice.
Man, excellent movie.
That good.
Yeah.
Huh? That's awesome.
Yeah, highly recommend. I hope it does well enough for a sequel, because I would really like to see where they go with this. And it also, and also playing Space Marine 2, which I'm going to talk about in depth next week, has me really hankering for Half Moon Studios to get another crack at a Transformers game, because those first two Cybertron games were so good. Both as far as gameplay, but also just telling the story of, the fall of Cybertron during the war and stuff like that. So, man, can't recommend it enough. Justin,
nice.
I know you're not a movie guy,
I
You
know.
should see this movie.
I probably won't, but I'll remember it exists.
When this comes out on disc, I'm going to get on you again. I'm going to be like, dude, just
All
order
right.
it. Just buy it. Because
I'll try.
You will get a big kick out of it.
I've been on a real reading kick as of late, so
Me too.
which is kind of interesting.
I picked up the first hardcover volume of Berserk.
Hold on a second. Hold on. This isn't good to listen to, but hold on.
I'm holding. This is me holding on.
Does it look like this?
It does look like that.
Yeah. Funny story. I seen you did that on Discord, and I had already done it the week before I seen that.
That's funny.
And I was like, what a weird fucking coincidence that is.
Yeah, so the thing for me that finally caused me to do it is that, so I've been listening to the Versus Wolves podcast, which is Super Eye Patch Wolf and Wooly Versus, and they do it's a once a month podcast. And they have literally been talking about Berserk for like the last 3 episodes, and they've only done like 6 episodes. So for like half of their show, it's just been Berserk, like a Berserk love-in. And I'm like, okay, like I just need to see what this is. Also, because I know it's like a big influence for like the Dark Souls series for sure.
Yes.
But also even, like Cloud, right? Like his Buster Sword literally comes from Berserk.
So have you seen? You don't know anything going into it.
I know that there's a character. I knew about Guts.
You know Guts.
Somehow I knew the name Puck, even though I had not seen that character before. I did play the Dreamcast game back when that was new, but that was back in like 1999. I remember that. So I don't remember shit.
Right. Okay.
I remember that like he could power up and like his eye, like he was missing an eye, and then his eye would open, it would be red, although he has both eyes where I'm reading.
Yes.
So obviously that happens later.
So for me, I think I needed a new pair of jeans on Amazon, and I was like, well, that's just lame if I'm going to get just jeans. I would like to get something else to appease myself. So, and I've been meaning to, I've been wanting to, I've been having a lot of fun reading the Street Fighter comics.
Right.
And this is like 20 years coming right now, because I've just been like, I watched the 97, I believe, anime of it, of Berserk, which is like probably the best. People often say that's the best like anime interpretation, although none of them are really like that great, apparently.
I've heard, because I always hear bad things about the 2016 one.
That one people hate.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones that people aren't really high on, but the old 97 one is pretty decent. Most people are like, yeah, that one was okay. It's super not bad. I loved it. When I had it, that was back in the old Suncoast video days where you would go in and buy anime and not know what the fuck it was.
Hell yeah.
It just came in a really cool box that I still have. And I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but let's get it and see what happens. And so I did. And then I watched the whole thing, and I remember being like, I'm not super high on this, like in the early stages of it, but then it kind of gets to a point and it takes off.
Okay. I'm glad you said that,
because
so far I am not impressed.
And
I think a big part of it for me, and hopefully this is a matter of like character growth, and maybe there's a read on the character that I'm missing. But my initial impression of Guts is, I look at him and I've read the first 2 arcs, which admittedly are very short.
Yep. Yes.
And so I see Guts, and I see like the first like guy that he beats, like the snake guy, and I'm like, this is the same picture. Because like Guts seems like just as evil as like the other characters that I've seen so far. And I'm like, okay, is he putting on airs because he's trying to push people away? Or is this like a he needs to grow?
Okay. So I to explain this. So knowing what I know, and I won't, spoil too much for you. This is my first time reading the manga. That snake guy is one episode of the show, and then they immediately skip the next thing that you read and go into the stuff that people actually usually get into. The big stuff is the origin story and Band of the Hawk stuff. Like I read
the brand was the second arc.
Yes. Okay. He is like the main. That's the big arc thing that people. That shit is good.
Okay, the one that I'm about to start. Okay.
Yes, number 2 or whatever. That you're
because it was the first one was the Black Knight, and then it was the brand.
Yes,
and then I think there's because like I did notice that like the next arc is like way longer. Like it's like I think the rest of the book.
Mm-hmm. I almost want to say it's called the Golden Age arc, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's the old 97 anime. That was the entire thing. There was one episode where he was like in the future, and I always thought it was weird. Like I was always like, that's really weird that it, like, and then they never really go back to it because like, oh, that anime ends so fucking weird, man. It's so fucking weird. It was such a bad place to end because you're like, oh, well, what's gonna happen after that? And then they never made any more. Anyway, that's the good stuff though. And I was even in that origin arc, I thought it was like a little slow moving until it gets to like a certain point. And I actually think that the anime may have handled it a little bit better than maybe the stuff does, because I actually think they've shown a little bit too much of like the current thing that he's doing instead of the past, because it kind of like catches you off guard a little bit when it comes up in the origin story. It's kind of cool. I don't know. You'll have to read more to really see it.
Like, you know, I know it's like a long running series, and so I wasn't going to pass any judgment, but I, you know, I was like, all right, like, and there's one other big thing, especially with me like reading all the X-Men stuff recently. I definitely prefer American comics to Japanese manga. Yeah. I've read a fair bit of manga, and like I typically prefer the storytelling panel to panel in American comics.
That's fair. Yeah.
And the thing about manga, and especially like these first couple arcs of Berserk, is like, okay, I'm just flying through this because there's like no dialogue.
Yeah, you get through it real quick. I had the same thing. I was actually shocked by how like it only took me a couple hours. This thing is thick as shit, and I was like, wow, I was 2.5 hours later, I'm done. Like, wow, that was really fast. It's funny. I'm curious what you think, but I actually kind of expect you not to like it that much.
People in Discord were like losing their goddamn minds over me picking this up.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I really expect you not to like it. It is super not the kind of thing you would be into.
Well, it definitely seems, like, at least from the beginning, like it's like, okay, yeah, if I was 16, like I would be like so far into this, like because it's just like it's like the edgiest edgelord shit. Right?
Yes, it's very edgelord and
look, I've still got some edgelord in me, right? Like there's a reason why Dark Knight is my favorite Final Fantasy job class.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh no, I'm talking about more like the world at large, because like especially in those first two things, like it is very bleak and dark, and there is like very little hope. Well, and that is super not your thing.
So knowing that it's like a big influence on like Miyazaki's games, like I kind of am expecting that. But see, I will say so far, but there's people. Right.
Yes.
So like there's people to talk to, and there's good people, and like that's my problem with like the stuff I've played of the Souls games, is that like it's super bleak, and like there's nobody worth talking to. Like there's that's fair. They have yet to make an engaging character for me that I've interacted with in any of those games. I'm sure there's some out there. I know people have their favorites. You know, I know Patches is like a big one, but to me he's like a character you love to hate. Like he's not like, and that's my thing is like. Yeah, I want like you need to give me like more to latch on to, and I will say so far there's more to latch on to with Berserk so far. Like even now,
Guts is like actually a pretty like complex character, and like actually interesting, especially the origin stuff, and especially the Griffith stuff, and the whole Band of the Hawk thing. Like that stuff is where like you really like. I remember being like, I am so into this when I was watching the anime. I would loan it to people and be like, listen. give this a little bit, because you're gonna be like, it's not doing anything, and then all of a sudden it's gonna. I would give them the episode. I'd be like, it's this one. When you get here, it's gonna turn, and you're gonna be like, okay, all right, this is great, and it's something, man.
Yeah, but like I feel that way about Rurouni Kenshin. Right now, I didn't know that the creator of that was a monster when I watched it.
We didn't know.
Right?
No, absolutely not.
But when I would recommend it to people, I would be like, look, it's going to be this really goofy anime for a while, but there is a moment, and admittedly it's deep into that anime, but there is one episode where the whole thing like turns on a dime, and it's like, holy fucking shit. And then it's like the rest of that up until like the last arc, but like the rest of that middle arc is like some of the best action shonen anime that I've ever seen.
Right.
But it's like a slow simmer till you get to the boiling point. So and I'm fine with that.
It's funny, my exposure to that series as a whole, I didn't watch much actual Rurouni Kenshin. I think I watched like a couple episodes overall. The one that somebody just randomly had, because again, this was the day where you just bought anime randomly and hoped it was good. It was kind of like the prequel to Rurouni Kenshin. It was called
Samurai X?
Samurai X, yes. Which was like hardcore violent as shit, and edgelord me was way into that shit. I was like, this is awesome.
I can only imagine if that version of you then went to watch the first episode of the anime and you're like, what is this shit?
I think I did a little bit. I was like, oh, this is not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for more motherfuckers getting chopped up, and this ain't it.
Yeah.
This is not what I was hoping for. But yeah, that was kind of funny. I remember learning like, oh, that's been a long running thing. This was the spinoff, and like, oh, well, okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just happened to. I was like, that was almost too perfect when I seen it. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, I guess the other thing that I did, was I've been watching. I haven't played it because I'm not going to play it. It's a horror game. Silent Hill 2 remake.
Yeah. Like beating the odds.
Surprisingly pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I would say based on so I haven't like I said, I ordered it. I haven't played it yet, but from everything that I've seen online, like even from people who like I expected to hate it.
Yeah, me too.
It's been like exceedingly well received.
Yeah.
To a crazy amount. And like I saw that even like Stephanie Sterling was into it, where I thought for sure that they would, like, no matter what, like no matter the quality of that game, that they would just not be able to look past like their nostalgia for the original and just bag on it.
There's a lot of people that I thought were going to have that, but they actually got it kind of right.
Yeah,
like
it's so
to a surprising degree. Like even like as I remember like, so the first big test is like, they're going to show that first, cutscene with the big kind of monologue and the letter reading and all that stuff. And and you're going to kind of get a feel for where how this is going to be maybe. And it's like, that was pretty good. That was pretty spot on. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it's new voice acting, which, you worry about it. But like, and then, they get to the next part, they get to Angela, and you're like, no, that was pretty good. That's actually a cool take on that character, and that works really well. And then they keep going, and it's just like, they're not fucking this up yet. Yeah. There's definitely a couple spots of it where, like, so far, where I've seen it and I'm like, I didn't quite nail that part.
Still correct me if I'm wrong, but the stuff that I've seen in reviews and stuff like that, it still feels like there's more action going on than I would like.
That is entirely possible. Yes, there is a little bit of that. It's definitely very. I'm not going to say it kind of reminds me of like the Resident Evil remakes a little bit in that sense. They definitely probably drew inspiration from that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The melee combat is still there, and it's pretty good. Actually, it's actually like, it's not great or anything, but it's very serviceable. Like you can definitely make a go with it.
Well,
and it seems pretty good.
Specifically for Silent Hill 1 and 2, I
Mhm.
really don't want the combat to be anything but serviceable, because the whole point of those games, like the characters were designed to be, they're not fighters. Like, you
Right.
know, they're not adept at this, and they're not
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Well, like James will get out of breath, like in huffs
Mhm.
when he's running and stuff like that. Like he's not army doing, but I mean he's got some little dodges, but they're not like there's nothing crazy.
Mhm.
I think my favorite part of the combat is when you get an enemy on the ground and James will do basically the Dead Space stomp, but a lot like more emotional
Mhm.
and like with it's definitely not you're not dismembering anything, but it is like it just pure emotional stomp, and you're like, oh, that is how somebody scared out of their mind would sound doing that.
because
Like
Isaac's stomp in Dead Space is much more aggressive than it is
Yes.
emotional.
Yes, this is more like, no, I want this to stay down. It's not
Which
good.
That I appreciate, because one of my issues with the original Silent Hill trilogy
Mhm.
was that there was so many things that would happen that I thought should really affect the characters that didn't.
Mhm.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you would like examine something and like they might comment on it, but it would just be like, oh, like that's disgusting or something. It's like I wanted to see them like actually like kind of like, you know, almost like shivering in fear sometimes, and
Right.
and you know like sometimes, especially with Silent Hill 3, because you know she was a younger character, but like there would be things that would happen to Heather where I was like, man, I really want her to just be like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? Like after
Right.
it happens, and then just kind of have to take a minute. So yeah, I do appreciate that.
Yeah. It's pretty. It seems pretty good. I keep trying to find. I think the one thing that you might not so much like is they definitely have expanded a lot on like certain like what I would call the Silent Hill dungeons. You kinda know.
I am worried about that, because everything I've heard is like, oh, that sounds like way longer than it needs to be.
It's a little bit longer than what it probably needs to be, but at the same time, they're a lot of the stuff that they've added, I'm like, that is pretty cool though. And there's even been a couple things that that have come back around that I didn't expect them to come back around in a certain way, that expands on certain things. A lot of it spoils it, but I mean, it's an old game, but I'm not going to spoil that, because if somebody's playing it for the first time, I don't want to do anything like that.
Definitely.
The one thing that I think is kind of a neat trick that they're doing here though, and I do like, is sometimes you will get to certain things, if you do know the old game, and you'll get to certain bits that are kind of like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go right here, and you'll click on it, and it will kind of do a thing. And but it's because they've remixed certain bits of it to kind of keep, you know, those players on their toes a little bit. And then and every time I watch like somebody who knows the game really well, they'll be like, and then I go over here and, oh no, I don't. Okay. It's really cool how they do that.
There's
Bloober Team. Yeah.
There's one thing that I'm curious to see if they changed, which was an unintentional scare for me back when the game came out. Because you got to remember, this game came out in 2001. I want to say it was October.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't know.
It was definitely around the fall. It might have even been in September. But
might have been.
There's a part in the game, and I should say that, like, I played through this game all the way through when it came out, and then I touched it when the HD version came out, just to, like, you know, I didn't play all the way through it.
Right.
And that's my experience with Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
But there's a part towards the end of the game where there's a bunch of like papers scattered around this area, and you can read them as notes. And one of them was dated 9/11. And this was like right after 9/11 had happened.
Oh, right.
And that like chilled me to the bone. And I'm wondering if they changed the date on that document in the new one.
It's possible.
I could see them doing that. Because now it's such a weighty date that obviously was not intentional back then. It's
possible, but at the same time, like, they've kept pretty much anything that was in there is for the most part in there.
Yeah.
Even with like the way they've added some stuff here and there, and most of the stuff that they've added, I haven't really had, me personally. I mean, I'm not like super attached to it like some people are, but like most of that stuff's been pretty cool and pretty good. Like I think the performances are really good, surprisingly. Like it's weird. Like if you're looking back and seeing like the previews for the game, you're just like, there's no way.
There's
no fucking way that's gonna be good.
Like someone should be fucking fired over at Konami or whoever was in charge of deciding what got shown when.
Yeah.
So like the last trailer that they released before the game came out was the big scene with Maria behind the bars talking to James.
Right.
So I think that her delivery on that is a little flat compared to the original. But if they had led with that, people would have been like there wouldn't have been nearly as much like, you know, doom and gloom over this game beforehand. But what they chose to show initially was all combat front loaded. And like, you know, I remember like there was a part where Pat, like, you know, there was like some graffiti on a wall that was like saying the quiet part out loud.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Pat
it was
like, this is gonna fucking suck.
Yeah, they're gonna really mess this up.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, and especially with who was behind it and the kind of track record, hit or miss track record that they have.
More
like a lot
miss
of
than hit, I think.
More miss than hit.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are people that like some of their games, and I've you know, it is what it is. I think they might be one of those kind of studios, almost like a Blue Point, where like, hey, maybe they don't make their own games, but if you let them color in the lines of something, they can do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like, because people are like, oh man, what are they going to do with their next one now that they made this one? And I'm like, hopefully it's another remake, because every time they get their own writing in there, it's not super great. I mean, it's fine here, but they have, you know, probably a template that they have to use. And I know they have they brought in a lot of like consultants and stuff for this one because they wanted to get it right. And God, that was the way to do it.
Yeah. Pat was saying that the team actually wanted to change quite a bit more than they did. And someone stepped in and said, no, you've done just enough.
Yeah.
And it sounds that way.
Yeah.
The only thing, just from what little I've seen so far, that I have an issue with, and it's more of a taste thing. I think a lot of it also comes from art direction versus graphics, right? There's been a big conversation about that recently online. Sure. I don't mind the overall change in the character designs, but the original 3 Silent Hill games had the characters had a very distinct look to the eyes and the teeth that were like kind of otherworldly and a little fucked up in a way that was very unnerving. Where now they just look like real people, which is fine. And it's hard to describe. Like, you'd have to go back and look at the old, like, cutscenes of, like, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 to get what I'm talking about. But that's not there. And so I feel that, like, there's a bit of unnerving in the cutscenes that's missing for me. Because, like, okay, obviously, like, people were very attached to the voice performances of Silent Hill 2.
Yes.
But what people, I think, don't realize out of context is that it was excellent voice acting for the time, not necessarily excellent voice acting, period. Right?
Yeah, no, it was, and even, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. It's good voice acting for the time, but at the same, it's almost kind of, like it almost works super well for what they were going for, because
it was almost accidental.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Yeah.
It almost felt accidental, like how awkward and stilted it is kind of works super well for what it almost adds like this dreamlike state to everything. That's really, you know, everything's really weird, everybody's a little fucking off, like all the timing on the dialogue's really off and weird a little bit here and there when you're watching the old stuff. They've done a decent job at like kind of like maintaining at least the timing part and stuff like that, and certain little details that they've added here and there to the characters I think are pretty cool. But yeah, like, no, you are correct in that, like, it for sure.
Yeah. This is a super nitpick thing, but you probably don't know, but I'm wondering if they kept the attract mode, because I love the attract mode of Silent Hill 2. If you just like don't press start, and it plays the theme song to Silent Hill 2 with like scenes from the game.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
because the cool thing was,
I don't know,
is like if you hadn't beaten the game, it would just play the attract mode. But once you had a clear game save on your memory card,
it shows you the spoiler attract mode, if I remember right.
But it would play the dialogue like during the music.
Oh yeah.
So like that was always cool because like I remembered like being a Game Fellas and like I just happened to have my memory card. Oh, because I was probably going to run SmackDown later on in the day, like to run some like create matches. But I had my memory card in the system and we just had Silent Hill 2 running. Then like it played the attract mode and started playing the dialogue. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And especially like with the music in the background when like Maria is like, I forget what she says, but like when they get separated and she goes off on James because like she was so scared, they have that scene in the attract mode, and with her like yelling at him over the music, it's so good.
Right. Yep.
I am really looking forward to playing that one.
Yeah. It doesnly nail everything, but it's better than I really thought it was going to be.
Possible scenario.
Yeah, honestly, it is. Like, yeah, I think it's definitely, for big fans of that game, they will definitely find some stuff in there. I'm really enjoying watching it. That's my favorite way to experience Silent Hill 2 is watch somebody else play it. So,
and it's also nice for people who didn't experience Silent Hill 2 before, like having a good version to play, right? Because you can't even like. I think that you can still play the HD collection on Xbox through backwards compatibility, but that's like
there's some way to play it. I know
there's a PC version, but like it's not as widely accessible as it should be. So it's nice that like this remake is actually a really good way for people to experience it for the first time.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious here. I'm kind of looking that up. I mean, not on Steam. There's just the new remake, and Homecoming is the only two Silent Hills you can buy.
Wow.
At least as far as I can tell.
Yeah. It's almost like Konami kind of got out of the video games industry for about 7 years.
Yeah, kind of like that. I know there's like, I feel it maybe it's on Good Old Games though. That I could see it being over there or something like that. But there was like a PC version of it, and it might have been that HD collection. And then I think you can mod it somehow to where it actually like is competent, and I don't remember exactly how that goes.
Wooly did some sort of weird version that he played for his
There's
stream.
some sort of version of it, that exists out there somehow, and I don't remember what it is, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 remake better than I fucking thought it would be.
Yeah, same here.
Now I'm curious if they'll go full in on remaking all of them.
My big curiosity is, what does that other Silent Hill game look like? The one that has like it's like set in Japan, and it's got like the weird flower theme.
That one seems interesting. Yeah, that one could be good.
That comes out, because
that one could be cool.
Because Pat had mentioned this, but there's more bad Silent Hill than good at this point.
Yes.
So it's I love those first 3 games. I would probably love Shattered Memory if I played it. I own it, but I've never played it. It's pretty
cool. Yeah, I think that one's pretty cool. I'm curious if they'll like go all in on the remake thing and try to. At this point, because now I know Pat was talking about he kind of argued, he's like, well, I don't think they should remake 1 because there's not really that much to it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a shorter game. But I'm like, but like you can't really get that game anywhere now.
Yeah.
There is merit to it because it's an old PlayStation game. It's really cool going back.
Yes, that's kind of my thing. So like, we'll probably have a version of this conversation come Game of the Year, but because like,
absolutely,
because I'm still on my thing about like remakes not really qualifying for me for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But my big argument for this one would be the same as it is for my argument for Resident Evil 4 last year, which is Silent Hill 2 was already like such a nice looking game that they could have actually just remastered it and put it out, and it would have been fine. Silent Hill 1 deserves like a nice
it does
bolt up ground up remake. Because it's a PS1 ass PS1
It's a PS1 game, yeah. It was late in the PS1 life cycle, but still, PlayStation 1 game.
It's rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, they did that fog was kind of to hide a lot of things, and it just worked really well for it, and they rolled with it, and it became the thing.
Yeah.
And go from there. But I think it'd be cool to remake one. It'd be dangerous to expand on it because I don't know how far you would want to go with certain things, but the way I think I would personally do it is I would just remake 1 and 3 at the same time and release them as the Cult Saga.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool if it was one game that it was like the first half is Silent Hill 1, and then there's like a break, and it's like however many years later, and then here we go with Silent Hill 3.
Or even if you had like a separate like thing on the menu, like, hey, you want to play this one or this one, and just like this is the first part, this is the second part. You can, if you want to play it out of order because you're a fan and you know which ones you want to do, that's fine. Here you go.
Yeah, don't expand them as far as like length of the games because keep them as
they
the
probably
lengths.
They probably would, and certain expansions that's fine.
I think with Silent, I think knowing that you're remaking 1 and 3 at the same time allows you to put hooks for 3 into 1 that weren't there before. Right? I
agree.
That's the thing I like about the Resident Evil remakes is that they've it's allowed them to actually like kind of recanonize the story in a way because as they were releasing sequels and stuff like that, they were kind of having to retroactively bolt stuff on that wasn't there before, where now they know what comes, right? So it allowed them to like kind of make things more cohesive. I still say that you don't remake 5, you just you branch into a new timeline.
It'd be fun.
You remake 5 and 6 as completely different games and then have them still tie into 7 and 8.
Yeah, 5 does get pretty problematic if you try to remake it, doesn't it? Yeah, I just remembered that. I'm like, oh yeah.
Even beyond that stuff, those two games are so stupid compared to the rest of the series.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. 4 is kind of the beginning of how dumb it starts to get.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. Like that's when it starts to veer, like really heavily.
Tiptoes into the water where Resident Evil 5 just jumps right in. Like
absolutely. They're like, okay, we're in. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah,
like this is what people want. And interesting. Anyway,
Well,
what
Justin,
else we got?
There's a lot of like stuff that I want to cover, like news wise this week. But before that, could we go to space?
Oh yeah. Okay, we can do
that.
Okay, hold on. Oh no. Oh god.
Oh, is the ship broken?
Hold on. It's not. But I suggest this is an edit point, Julian, because I have to turn it on, and it has to turn on for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to turn it on. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
And we'll do that. Would you mind while it turns on if we take a break? Because I actually have to pee.
Yeah, no problem.
And I might as well smoke a cigarette while I'm at it.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good.
Okay. Well, now that he's gone, we can really wrap. I wasn't actually going to bring this up on the episode, but, it's going to be a long one. And I'm here now, and he's not. And y'all are stuck with me. So, in the last, few weeks, it was announced that Amelia Watson, one of the founding members of Hololive Myth, the first English Hololive group, was going to be ceasing her streaming activities. She didn't actually, quote unquote, graduate as they do. She's not officially gone for good. She's now considered an affiliate, which means that she'll show up here and there for things. But it was surprisingly sad, because even though she's not one of my favorites, of Myth, I really just care about Callie and Gura. I haven't really paid much attention to the rest of them too much. But, it was kind of this weird thing where it's okay, I'm into this fandom now and I'm really having a lot of fun. And I kind of thought that I would have more time before some of these performers started to leave. And so it was really shocking, especially after they did their big concert in New York. And then they had the big enigmatic recollection Minecraft mod thing that they did that was a lot of fun. And then they had the Myth 4-year anniversary. So like there was all this stuff happening like one after another. And yeah, it was kind of surreal because, you know, I was kind of thinking about it, and it's sort of like, you know, I mean, obviously like the comparison is like way out of whack, but it's kind of like, you know, John leaving the Beatles in the sense that like the band is still there, but they're missing a founding member. And so it's never going to be the same. And, you know, definitely like seeing like the outpour of support and, you know, just general, obviously like thanking her for all of her time and entertainment and stuff like that, but also just genuinely like sad fans, you know, that are, you know, kind of really upset that, this founding member left. I definitely felt that, and it definitely colors like a lot of recent songs in a different way. They had done I think it was for Myth's, 4th anniversary concert. Amelia, Gura, and Ina sang one of Callie's songs called End of a Life, which those lyrics like hit a lot harder knowing that Amelia is gone now. So yeah, I don't know, just kind of sad. And like, I'm kind of surprised at how emotionally invested I am in all this shit when, yeah, I don't know. Like I was thinking about the other day, like, all of a sudden I'm listening to like, you know, Japanese music again, albeit sung by Americans, but you know, that's like a thing that I haven't done since I was like in my early 20s. And like, there was something else. I forget, what was it? Was a game that I was playing. Well, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like all of a sudden, like I've rotated backwards. You know, I'm reading comics again, and God, what was the game that I was thinking about in relation to this? Not Persona 3. Yeah, I don't know. It just I don't know. It's probably some sort of midlife crisis type thing. But you know, I don't really. Myth is definitely not my group. I definitely resonate a lot more with Promise and Advent, and I think Justice is definitely like that's the one where I'm there from the beginning. So, and Cecilia is absolutely my favorite. And especially when she teams up with Gigi. I've mentioned in the Discord, but if y'all ever want to see what me and Justin would be like as anime girls, just go look up any collection on YouTube of Cecilia and Gigi together, because those two are so committed to the bit, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think that's all I got. I'm actually going to go take a break myself, and then we'll resume with our regular shenanigans.
All right, you ready? We'll just hit the button.
Yeah,
here.
let's go to space.
All right. Yep.
Feel
Doing it.
the weight of the world just lifting off of me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, it's so nice to be back up here. It's been a while.
It's been a little bit,
Yeah.
you know? It's been a little bit. What do you got to be on space, or do you want me to start? Because I got a thing I can tell you.
Yeah, why don't you tell me a thing? I've definitely I had another thing, but then something happened today that was more important to unburden myself in space with. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm not that smart of a person sometimes.
Nor am I.
Yeah, and sometimes I think I don't know where I get some of the information that I have, but it is clearly blatantly wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we both grew up in the you know, American public school system.
Yeah, I don't even think this came from them.
Okay.
I think somebody just said something that me at a young age just took as like, oh, well, that's what it is then. So skunks, Julian. I don't think you expected it to go here, but here it is. Skunks. in my brain, at some point, I don't know how it happened, but in my brain, the skunk juice, I always thought it was skunk semen.
Oh.
I just thought they were just coming on everything. So I just thought, when you smelled the skunk, that it was skunk cum. And people were just, that's
skunk
what
milk.
when you. Well, skunk cum is very fun to say,
that's fine.
so I keep saying it. Yeah, no, here we are. But yeah, that's a legit thing I thought for a long time, and was only recently corrected on it when I started thinking upon it more. I was just like, that sounds stupid. I need to ask somebody who would know. And so I asked a friend of mine, and they kind of looked at me like, no, that's not at all right. And I was like, okay, so what is it then? And they're like, there's just like a gland, man. And I was like,
just a defense mechanism.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad, because that would have been a whole thing if they were just walking around just coming everywhere. That'd been not great.
Man, I miss the days when I could just come everywhere. That was nice.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing, So that's a legit thing, I thought. Also, I learned recently that Bon Jovi has 3 different songs that mention Tommy and Gina in them.
Oh, you think they were a throuple?
No, it's not. There's 3 songs that.
No.
It's a Tommy and
Gina. Do you think Tommy, Gina, and Bon Jovi and John Bon Jovi were a throuple?
No, I believe it's implied that he was using it as a almost like a simile to himself and somebody else. Oh. He was self-inserting. He was Tommy the whole time, but he just used them as something else.
He must have heard about Tommy Lee and his baby's arm holding an apple, and so he wanted to self-insert as Tommy.
It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not, but yeah, that's the thing I learned about Bon Jovi. I was actually somebody said it, and I was like, that's not right. And I was like, there's no, it was just the one song. You just used it it was like a story song. And they're like, no, it's in other songs. And I was like, no, it's not. And then they're like, fucking look it up. And I did. And I was like, oh, you were right about this thing. Now, this person is generally wrong about a lot of stuff, and I argue with them, and then they get mad that they're wrong. But I took it as I was like, oh, well, I learned something new today. And then I said, see, that's how you're wrong about things. You take it as a learning experience, and you move on.
Oh, well, that's actually apropos for later.
Okay, well, great.
So, okay, your thing about the skunks, I will go ahead and say this, and it's funny because this literally came up on an outtake of No One Can Know About This week, but I swear,
okay,
I had wanted to talk about this in space like before I heard this.
All right,
I never heard the actual birds and the bees talk, and at this point, I'm too afraid to like look up what it's supposed to be, Justin.
Oh, like when like what the bird does or what the bee does to the bird, I guess.
Yeah. So like, if it's just bees, I get the analogy because of the whole like pollinating flowers and stuff like that. I don't know where the bird fits in, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like 2 separate analogies about doing the nasty, or if the birds and the bees are like connected somehow that I'm not aware of.
I don't actually know myself.
Neither did
I never really got that.
So I felt a lot better after hearing that.
No, you're not alone. Normally somebody's just like, hey, here's what sex is, and you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, that was pretty much like how it was for in my house.
Yeah, it's either that or you figure it out on your own, and or they go in different order or whatever, however that works. But yeah, like as far as like the 1950s sugar-coated version of it, I don't think I've ever heard that either.
I feel like that might actually be like our grandparents' generation that actually knew what the birds and the bees talk was supposed to be.
Yeah, I wonder if the internet knows.
No. At this point, we can't know. It's not right.
But I almost want to now.
But Justin,
But I like to learn.
I don't. That's why I will continue to be as stupid as I already am.
Okay. Okay, it has... So you're right about the bees pollinating flowers. The other part, I guess, is just birds lay the eggs.
Okay.
But they don't really... Okay, this is the Google answer, apparently.
That's just going to be AI shit, which...
No. It's just below the AI overview. Bees pollinating flowers symbolizing male fertilization, and the birds laying eggs, which equates to female ovulation.
Huh. Okay.
In another telling of the story, a baby is created when a bee stings a bird.
Well, that's just wrong.
That's just not right. Yeah, that's just not how that works.
Man, no wonder why this country is so fucked up about sex.
Let's see what Reddit has to say.
Oh, God.
Apparently, they have a whole thing here. I've grown it. They don't really know either. It's not really a specific story, so I don't. Maybe,
yeah, I feel like people on Reddit are going to know way less than us because they're typically way younger than us too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't know. There's a lot of people on Reddit about my age. I don't know. But then again, I
think you established that like our generation also doesn't know what it's supposed to be. So
I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's one
exactly
of those things that's kind of pseudo lost to time. Well, I guess we figured it out now, but yeah, that's
I
not
guess
what
it's just like a tongue-in-cheek reference. Apparently, I don't fucking know, man. This seems weird.
Because like there are things that have like their origins, right? Like I was so blown away when I found out that "mind your P's and Q's," like that saying. Had to do with during the Prohibition movement, where it was mind your pints and quarts, and it was talking about when people when like bootleggers would have like the booze on them, and it was like mind your make sure you're not spilling anything, right? It's like okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the other thing, and this just happened today, and I was floored, Justin. But so I had a doctor's appointment. I had lab work this morning, so I had to come in to work late, which meant I had to stay late.
Okay.
And one of the things that happened while I was on vacation is that we had assigned to us a discrimination and harassment class that we had to do for HR.
Class. I thought you were going to finish that with lawsuit.
No.
I was like, okay, well it's something to happen. No, that's
your eyebrows shot so far.
Yeah,
up.
I was like, oh, okay, all right. Well,
look,
okay, class.
I did some
Sorry,
things
got
that
it.
I regret, Justin. I don't.
Okay.
No, but and so it's like whatever, right? Like. These are pretty standard classes, and it's like, okay, watch this video. You're going to get a bunch of information that you already know, and they're going to ask you quizzes that are literally repeating what you just heard a second ago, which speaks volumes for like where we are as a society with like retaining information. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
The issue, Justin, is that there was a woman presenting the information that was not a real woman. It was an AI woman, Justin.
Oh.
And like it took me a little bit, but I was like, nope, this is an AI person. Like I can tell by the way this person is moving, I can tell by the cadence of this person's voice.
Yep, that's always the giveaway is the cadence. Yeah, that's always the giveaway. So I've actually been having this talk with my father recently. Because he is very interested in the Puff Daddy, P. Diddy crime bullshit. And he watches a lot of videos on YouTube that give the news out about it. And they are all AI generated. And I'm like, and he's like, man, I just really like these videos. And I'm like, you realize that's an AI talking, right? And he's like, is it? And I'm like, yeah. No, listen close sometime. Next time you watch them, listen real close. Just the cadence of everything they say is kind of the same. And then they'll get to some words every now and then, and you'll be like, that's not how that's pronounced, actually. That's not how you would say that word.
The most damning indication for me is spacing of words.
Yes.
That is the dead giveaway. And so very crucially, and it was funny because it even showed up in the text on the screen, but there was a part where they were mentioning this regulation, and it was a number. It was like 5 numbers, right? But the numbers were spaced. to keep the AI from just saying like 16,300 and whatever.
Right.
So it was like 1, 6, 3, blah, you know, and I was like, but they left the spacing in the text on the screen, and I was like, there it is. And there was like multiple AI peoples in the course of this thing. And the thing is that it completely distracted me from the information, because the whole time I'm just kind of aghast at what I'm seeing, and I'm like, what was the purpose of this? Surely this didn't save them any money. If anything, this seems like it would have been more expensive, because, like, admittedly, this was like some of the best AI like people that I've seen so far.
Oh yeah, it's
constantly getting
very
better.
Convincing.
Yes,
yeah, it's very convincing.
But at the same time, it's like, because I know the people who are like somehow getting paid to do like this generative AI shit, they're doing like a lot, like they're manipulating prompts in a way, and you know, there is a certain alchemy to it, right? That takes time, and they're charging out the nose for that time. And I'm like, this can't have been less expensive than hiring an actor.
So that's the prompt stuff is more the art aspect. That's when you get into like, you gotta type in this thing to get
so maybe
this,
this is
and
like a more sophisticated thing.
This is more like text to speech, but like on a very way higher level, which is kind of because Skyrim modding got a whole into this at some point where they were like, let's voice the main character of the game, and they would get the AIs to do it. Like they would train it with voice actors or whatever.
I get the speech part of it. I'm more talking about the visual part of it.
Oh, it's made. The visual part of it is made that way. Now that is a prompt.
So that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up.
That's the part where I'm like, this seems like more work and more money than it would have cost to just get one person as an actor to just like present this information. I don't know, man. It was super weird.
Well, at the same time, if it's the visual aspect of everything, though, like, I guess you can hire one person, but then now if you get one AI man to do it, they do the video part of it and generate all the stuff, or basically it goes and makes the video for them, and then they just get the text-to-speech thing, and now the video is made, instead of having to hire a man to edit all that footage for you and do all that stuff. Yeah, it'd be multiple people. I guess it technically probably is cheaper to do it that way.
And I guess, you know, once you have the AI person, then you can just put whatever words in their mouth that you want for future videos.
Yeah. Yes, actually, yeah, probably, yeah. Who even knows if it's like, there's probably like a voice dump somewhere where people have just been like, yeah, just use my voice for this, it's fine, whatever, and that might have been where they pull it from, because like the videos my dad watches, they are all they have different voices, and sometimes I'm like, man, if I didn't know any better, like, that would trick me. Like,
that's the thing, right? They all have different voices, and like, it took me longer than I care to admit to like confirm that the first one was AI. And once I saw it, it was much easier to pick it up on the next two presenters.
Yes.
But holy shit, dude! Like, yeah, we are on the precipice of some real bad shit, because I'm constantly amazed at how rapidly it's iterating, and it's gonna become like a major problem.
Yeah, they're gonna. It is going to be exactly, and they're gonna have. It's gonna come down to, is the law going to do anything to calm this the fuck down in time? Yeah,
because like they don't even understand the actual concept of it. You know, just almost across the board. I mean, I already saw it already. Like there's some Republican dude that's running for some office that, you know, like a bunch of his like comments on porn sites from like 13 years ago surfaced, and he's like, oh, well, you know, they can just like make up anything with AI now. It's like, oh, it's already starting. Like, using that as an excuse.
Oh, that was the governor of North Carolina. Yeah. No, and then everybody was like, but that wasn't around 13 years ago. But then you think of the Republican voting base, and you're like, well, they probably would buy that.
Well, yeah, because his thing is like, well, they just retroactively like made it look like these were posted 13 years ago, right?
Course,
you can do anything with AI, and it's like, well, no, it's more nuanced than that. But we're probably not far away from being able to, you know, gin something up like that. So
it's entirely possible. Yeah. Oh Oh boy.
I thought this would make me feel
All
better,
right.
but I actually feel worse now. But it's okay. Let's go back to Earth. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
At least this is still piloted by us and not AI.
Not yet. I mean, we could. It might be nice to get, see, there are certain things I think we should get AI to do, like pilot a spaceship, maybe. Well, then again, it didn't go well in Space Odyssey 2001.
Yeah, literally. That's the thing, right? It's like there's so many, like science fiction has given us so many cautionary tales. They weren't supposed to be roadmaps.
Yeah, well, here we are. Oh, boy. Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
Oh, what we're going to do is talk about some video game news, because there was actually a lot that I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
One of the big things is that, and it's kind of old news at this point, but I still wanted to talk about it for a lot of reasons. Sony had their big state of play for September, and I thought it was a phenomenal state of play. I think it was probably the best showing that they've done since the PS5 was announced.
Yeah, probably, possibly. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I can't argue with you.
It
on
wasn't that long ago where we were talking about like, what do they have? There's nothing in the pipeline.
I'd have to go back and look to confirm what you like the best showing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's subjective. Like but my feeling is that like since the PS5 reveal, every time Sony has gone out to make a presentation, it's been like, oh, you don't really have much. Like, y'all released, like, Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and then the PS5, and then, like, I guess once Horizon Forbidden West came out, that seemed to be, like, like, they were, like, tapped out, and, like, they didn't seem to have anything else, like, on the way. And it was starting to get worrisome. And, there's still, like, major studios that were like, where are they? Like Naughty Dog being one of the big ones, right? Like, right. And we still haven't seen more than just the teaser for Wolverine from Insomniac.
Yeah, they had. I mean, that's Spider-Man 2. I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, beyond that, right?
Right. Yeah. No, not much really.
But I thought that this state of play had something for everyone. And it did seem that there was mostly positive response to it, but I was surprised at just, man, the amount of just, like, jaded, not impressed by anything, like, doom and gloom about video games is just, like, so pervasive at this point. And,
right.
This is separate from, the catastrophic, like, layoffs and shutdowns that's happening in the industry. I'm talking separately from that. That's obviously legitimate doom and gloom that you can have. But as far as like, stuff coming out, like I especially for the PlayStation, right? Now, to be fair, I don't know how much of this is like PlayStation exclusive and how much of this is third party that's going to be everywhere. Yeah. But even so, like, this is stuff that was like unveiled here, right? So whenever something's unveiled at someone's showcase, I feel that they are the lead platform for that game, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, look, just going through this list real quick. I mean, there's this Metro game that's a VR thing, which that's basically Sony at that point because they're really the only ones kind of dabbling in that category.
Yeah. There was the Midnight Walk, which is this really interesting looking, like, claymation platform
that one looked cool
type thing, but it also has a VR component. It's not required. Right. You don't have to have PSVR to play it. Right. But if you have PSVR, there's a mode for that, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if this game is my thing, but it's super interesting. And it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm glad this exists. This looks like nothing else that's available right now.
Right. Right, for sure.
Which, is like one of the big things is like, oh, everything looks all the same. And it's like, what are you looking at? Like, where are you getting your games, like, stuff from?
There's Hitman VR. That's, again.
Oh,
Justin,
know that I have a problem with the need to commit murder. Like, this has been an ongoing issue for me where I just, I have the hunger to murder.
You have a real commit and murder problem.
I do. And I'm so glad that now I can play Hitman in VR. and satiate my bloodlust in a safe way where I don't actually have to kill a real person. I can just kill virtual people. It looks so fun, dude. Like, it looks so dumb. It's great. Like, I love it. Yeah, I love, like, there's a lot of really cool, like, because they're really like hammering home like that you can use both hands independently. So you can be like picking a lock while still having your gun out. Like, I may actually like start messing around with firearms where I never use those in the regular game. But also just like, you're just going to go walk up behind someone and strangle a fool. Like,
it seems neat.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else is there?
Early thing that was shown that I'm super stoked on, and I cannot believe how many times I heard people going through this list and just glossing over this game.
Okay.
Hell is Us.
Yeah.
This game looks fucking cool to me, Justin.
I've already forgotten what it is, but I remember thinking it looked cool.
It has very strong Death Stranding vibes, for one. Because it's like this guy kind of in a cloak / poncho in a very like desolate looking world. He's got this like drone that's kind of with him that he can use to scan the environment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then the enemies feel... So it does have like kind of Souls-like elements as far as like gameplay and design goes. But the actual monsters designs feel a lot more like cosmic horror.
Right.
Actually, a lot of it reminded me of like Neon Genesis Evangelion. There's a lot of like angels kind of feeling to the enemies.
I remembered the name, like, as soon as I seen it. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, and I remember being like, that looks like it might be neat. I don't know if it's going to be my thing, but like, it looks neat.
I'm super intrigued. I did watch like some actual gameplay that they released afterwards, and it looks really good.
Cool.
I'm not familiar with the developer. Like, it seems like this might be like a first game or something like that, but it's definitely on my radar. And
that's cool.
I just could not believe how many people just kind of like glossed over it. I was like, what? Did we look at a different trailer? Like, holy shit.
Right. A lot of these presentations hinge on the first game shown and the last game shown.
They really do. And it's like so many people seem to just like check out. And I'm like...
during the middle. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the middle of these presentations sometimes. Like, and I mean, not all of it's for everyone, but like, it's worth watching a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, and that was, I think, my big takeaway from this state of play is that I felt that there was something for everyone. Like, it really runs the gamut of releases here.
I mean, even if you like older games, I mean, the Lunar Collection and Legacy of Kain, I was like, oh, that's really cool that they're bringing back. Like, I was excited for Lunar. I know I was, as soon as I seen the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver stuff, I was like, oh, Julian's gonna be fucking pumped for that shit. So,
but you might be surprised. Lunar was the thing that I popped off for way harder.
Okay, all right, awesome, yeah.
Lunar, this might surprise you. Lunar 2 is my favorite PlayStation 1 RPG.
I'm not that surprised by that. Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal. And like when they started to play like the theme song from Lunar 1, I started to cry.
Nice.
And a big part of that is because like I've talked about it on the old show, but like, at Game Fellas, we had demo systems running, right? And so they would be running all day long. And so one of my big things was putting in a game to let the attract mode run until somebody wanted to try something out. So I have very fond memories of just having the theme song from Lunar, like, playing on a loop throughout the day. So, like, anytime that I hear, like, an attract mode song from that era, like, I just get emotional. And, like, I was so stoked to see this coming back. I own them both on PlayStation 1. I can play them anytime. But, like, I'm so happy for, like, a new audience to be able to experience these games.
Yeah, me too. I think I played the first one, and I might have played a really weird fucking version of it, because I think I played it on Game Boy Advance of all
Game Boy Advance is actually a really good version of Lunar.
Okay, yeah, I played that one and thought I loved it. I thought it was great. So like, but I always remember, I was like, I know this isn't like the PlayStation version, so maybe it's not as good. But I thought it was great. Yeah, it was different. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to playing those. I like I said, I played the first one. I don't remember a lot from it though.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to go back to.
And then as far as the Soul Reaver collection, like that actually got leaked like I think the day before the State of Play. And I'm really like I was excited to see it, but I was a little disappointed that because I felt like you really should have Blood Omen Legacy of Kain in here. Mainly because, like, even if you don't do like a full on remaster, just get it playable because, like, well, one, it's my favorite of those games, but also it's the beginning of the story.
Yeah,
but then they did announce, like, in the State of Play, that Blood Omen is coming as a PS1 classic. That it's part of like one of the upper tiers of PS Plus, but also with all the PS1 classics, like you can just buy it. So that's great. Like, well, there you go. So I'm really happy for that. And so with that being announced, there's a thing that I have to do, Justin.
Okay, great.
This is for Dennis Robertson. Get ready to cringe. I apologize, Justin.
Okay.
But this was by request.
All right.
The opening monologue from Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
Okay, great.
Vae Victis. Suffering to the conquered. Ironic, I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain. Rather the cruel jerk of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I did that as like, I think it was actually an outtake in an episode of Nerds Without Pants, so you would not have heard it. But Dennis Robertson was like looking for it in old NWP episodes and could, like, I thought it was when we did the list. But he listened to the list again, which is where we listed off every PlayStation 1 game and talked about if we played them or not.
Oh, right, yeah.
But he couldn't find it. So there you go, Dennis. Don't say I don't do anything for you.
Hey, credit to you, Julian. That was actually pretty good.
Thanks. I used to do that all the time back in the day. I just loved that monologue so much. I love Simon Templeman's performance. So obviously, I'm no Simon Templeman. But
I didn't cringe near as hard as I didn't actually cringe at all. I was like, oh no, he's got this.
Surprise. Okay.
Yeah, no. If it would have been bad, I'd have been like, oh man, I don't know about this one. But I was like, no, all right, you're doing it. Cool. You're doing the thing.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Another game that was shown that people just completely ignored that I think looks rad as shit is Arcade Chronicles.
Yeah, I think I had to look this one up as to what it was.
Yeah, so it's very much like a fantasy action RPG, but I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be an MMO or not.
That was the same fucking question I had.
So on this IGN article that we're looking at, they describe it as a Souls-like game. So that has me a lot more interested. There definitely is a multiplayer component because they show that in the trailer.
Yes, I remember that. I think if I remember right, when they showed the trailer, I went to the official site and it said something along those lines. And I was like, okay, well, I probably won't end up trying this, but.
Yeah. I really like the fantasy element of it though, and I think it looks
cool.
Great. Like I think
it looked cool. Yeah.
I again, it's on my radar. We'll see when the time comes.
Yeah.
But there's another game along these lines, and I forget the name of it. It's a Korean developer, but it looks really cool, and I wish I could remember the name of it. I think it's from the people who make Black Desert Online.
You talking about the Black Desert one? Oh fuck! It's something.
It's like an offshoot from Black Desert, I think.
It's Crimson something.
Yes, is it Crimson Desert?
It might be. Hold on, I can't remember what I knew exactly what one you were gonna mention
because the stuff I've seen from that looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool. Oh boy, this is going to be tough to find. Continue on with what you were talking about, and I'll cut in when I.
Oh yeah,
when I
so another one of the surprise announcements for me that was super exciting, Fantasian, which is Mistwalker's game that was on. It was just on Apple Arcade for years.
Right.
Is actually coming to console. I already pre-ordered a physical copy of it. I was super stoked that's happening. But this is. Sakaguchi saying, "Hey, what if we made Final Fantasy VII again, but in modern day? But instead of pre-rendered backgrounds, we make physical dioramas that we photograph." Which sounds really cool. So I'm excited to finally get my hands on that one after all this time.
Yep, we were right. It was Crimson
Crimson
Desert.
Desert. Okay, yeah, that's another one that's absolutely on my radar.
Yeah.
A lot of people were really losing their shit over Fear the Spotlight, which is this very PS1 inspired survival horror game.
Oh yeah.
I kind of agree with Sam Barlow, the guy behind like Her Story and Immortality and stuff like that.
Okay.
Where he was saying it's really weird as a person who lived through all of these like old survival horror games and remembers like how like flooded the market got with them, seeing like all of the fervor over them coming back, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
I agree. Yeah, it's a little weird.
PlayStation 1 aesthetic, like I get the nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
But like there's a reason why the people who were there at the time are wanting like our favorite games from then to be remade.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to go back to that graphical style.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it's not so much the graphical style that's the problem for a lot of us, but like going at some point, like we all go back to it, like some of those games and try them out again. And they some of them are really hard to go back to because like the gameplay is just a little all over the place. It was fine for the time, but like going back to it, it's like, man, we learned so much since this time.
Yeah.
And maybe like in our brains, we associate that stuff. I don't mind like the look of the PlayStation 1, but I also like PlayStation 1 was trying to look as real as possible, but couldn't achieve that. And now we can just do that, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird. It's a really weird style to emulate, I think.
Yeah, I'm like super torn on it. Like, I get that it's like a valid, it's just like pixel art, right? Like, it's a valid art style that you can go with. But a lot of pixel art, I'm like, but I was there. Like, I lived through it. And if you're not evolving it, then I don't really care. And the thing about the like PS1 graphics is it did evolve. It's the PS5.
That's what I mean.
So
it's PlayStation 5 now. Yeah, like the numbers do actually mean something.
Yeah,
like they did, But I don't know. People have fond memories of that stuff. I guess I get it.
No, I do too. And I do think that the people who are really getting into this thing are the ones who were like much younger kids when these graphics were out.
It's possible.
So it was a lot more formative.
Yeah.
So I do get that, but it's just like
it also could just be like a thing where it's like, oh, actually, it's really easy to develop a game with those graphics.
There's definitely that, right?
There might be that as well. Yeah.
More on that a little later. I thought of you when the Alan Wake 2 second DLC was announced, only because it ends with one of the jump scares from Alan Wake 2, and I was like, oh man. I hope.
Oh yeah, I'm really good at predicting them now, and I just look at my phone. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Just go ahead. And then I heard this thing. I was like, great, yeah, got it. Okay, I'm getting way too good at predicting jump scares now.
That just means that people who make jump scares need to be better about where they place them.
They're getting really bad at it, actually. Yeah.
I got super stoked at the beginning of this because I thought it was actually Control 2. And I was about to lose my goddamn mind.
Yeah, that would have been pretty big.
Someone on I think the 8-4 podcast was predicting that this DLC ends with like, a lead in, like basically like yo,
oh yeah,
Control
I could see
2's
that.
coming, right?
Yeah,
which would be very cool. I still haven't played the first DLC for Alan Wake 2, so and I own them both, right? Because like I got the deluxe edition, so just need to. That'll be a fun thing to mess around on my Pro.
Yeah, there you go.
We saw more games announced for PS5 Pro support, which actually I'll save that for a second. So one of the other things was they officially announced, which it had already been, leaked, but they did confirm that there is a remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn coming out.
Okay.
And I do have to give kind of like a eat some crow type thing from when we talked about the rumor on the last episode. Mm-hmm. Simply because I forgot that one of the big complaints about Horizon Zero Dawn back when it was new was it was like, this game is gorgeous, but what the fuck is up with these NPCs?
Oh yeah.
Because like and that's the thing about Horizon Forbidden West is they took that criticism. They were like, we're going to make the best looking NPCs you have ever seen in a video game.
That's fair. Yeah.
But one of the big features of Zero Dawn Remastered is they actually went and redid like a lot of the major NPC dialogue bits and like remodeled them and you know, like reanimated them and stuff like that. That's a big change. Like, you know,
yeah.
Like I've said with like a lot of other remakes and remasters, it's not really for people who played it back in
right.
You know, I think it was 2018.
That was 2017.
2017.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It came out right after.
It was
Breath of the Wild.
it was the same year as Breath of the Wild. Yeah. How can I forget? So like, it's not really for those people. You know, it's for people who haven't played it before, right? At the same time, I really feel, especially with having a new fancy console coming out, that this game should be like $30 brand new. Like if you didn't own it, and if you do own the original Zero Dawn, it should just be a free upgrade. Like that would have like been such goodwill. Like I think the amount of goodwill that would have bought would surpass like the actual money that they get from charging. I think it's $50 as the retail price for it.
Okay. But, yeah, it's pretty up there if I remember correctly.
And that would have been like a really good incentive for PS5 Pro, like the few people that are going to buy one, because it's like, oh, hey, I already have Horizon. Let me pop in this upgrade and like see what this looks like.
Yeah.
Right? No. So that's really annoying. Is this a thing that I'm going to buy one day? Yeah, probably. But I'm going to wait for a deep discount.
Oh, I've been doing a lot of that recently. Yeah. I've been slowly rebuilding what I have on consoles onto my PC.
Right.
Like I've been doing it through like 90% off discounts, so slow as hell. Yeah. Like I recently bought the Tomb Raider trilogy for I think like $11 or something crazy like that. Like I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Like it's fine. And then then they had like They're not good or anything, but like the Tomb Raider anniversary thing, and like there's a couple other ones that are like hold on, I have a whole tab.
I think the people who are doing the Soul Reaver collection are the same ones that did that Tomb Raider collection.
That they did that Tomb Raider collection. I didn't get that one yet because that's another one. I don't really care about it. But there was Tomb Raider Anniversary, which was just
that remake of the original game.
Yes. That was $1. Tomb Raider Legend was $1.
Oh, shit.
I was like, they aren't good. Tomb Raider Underworld was $1. Okay, well, I've never played them.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I never actually played them.
Underworld
so
is actually legit excellent.
Well, there you go. They were like $1, and I was like, fuck it, why not? It's like what? Like even if they're terrible, well, who cares? It's fine. So I was like, well, yeah, throw these in the pile and just put them over there.
Yeah, like I bought Metaphor on Xbox, but I will be buying a physical copy of that on PlayStation 5 once it's cheap enough because I want that on the shelf.
Yeah, I've been looking at buying the Vanillaware games. Like I kind of like, I should get a physical copy of Unicorn Overlord and 13 Sentinels because those are great games that I want to have a copy of.
Yeah, because I also feel like those games in particular, because I could definitely see a scenario where Vanillaware is no more, and those games end up just disappearing.
Yeah,
so
and it's terrifying. There's also one, the Odin Sphere one that's on PlayStation 4 that I've been thinking about getting to, just for the hell of it. I probably won't ever play it, but I would like to have it.
I really need to play that game. I own it on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4.
I think I bought it on the Vita of all fucking things.
No, yeah,
I was like, well, yeah, well, it's here. Why not?
Yeah.
Fuck it. And then I never played it. That's what I did. I played the other one, the beat 'em up, Dragon's Crown or whatever.
That's another one that I own on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, and I haven't really played much of that I need to.
That one's kind of neat.
Oh yeah,
that one's kind of neat.
Yeah. I feel after the last couple games, I feel like a stronger affinity for their stuff, so I do want to go back and play the other ones.
Right.
Obviously, though, the big thing. And this kind of dovetails off of like them showing off more PS5 Pro compatibility games.
Yeah.
They ended the show with the showstopper, which is not a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. That is not what Sucker Punch has been saying. it is a new Ghost game.
Yes.
That's a big distinction they're making. This is a game called Ghost of Yotei.
Mhm.
It's set about 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima. So, different time period, different region of Japan. It's like in the Hokkaido region, which is apparently like in the north. New protagonist, lady protagonist.
Lady protagonist, yes.
And it looks fucking incredible.
Looks cool. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I don't even want to get into all of the people belly aching. Like,
oh yeah, that's not even really worth it.
no, I knew that they were working on another Ghost game. I was just glad to see it confirmed, and also it's like, oh no, this looks just. I mean, their art direction is incredible on these games.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. Like, I want to know what they're doing over there, because I think Ghost of Tsushima didn't get enough credit for some of the shit that it did on the PS4. Obviously, it looked incredible.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought was even more incredible, and I don't know if you remember this, Justin, that game loaded so fast on the PS4, like compared to other games.
I'm sure.
Like, I don't know how they pulled that off. And the other thing was that, like, I remember when the game sold 1 million units, it was, they were over the moon. So, like, clearly they scoped the game and they made the game at a scale where selling 1 million units was actually, like, a success. And now, 5 years later, which is still long, but not as long as some game sequels have been taking to come out.
Right, yeah.
We have a sequel that also seems to be, like, I mean, there's not much to go on off of the trailer, but it feels like it's kind of going for, like, the same type of scope and everything.
Kind of, yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see that game. I like the idea of not continuing being Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something like that. I love the idea of just being like, no, what if it's just Ghost of whatever region and we go with a different time period and we tell a different story like that. I'm like, yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to do that. That's perfect. That's how I would have pitched it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and because like I'd have been like, where are you gonna go with this one guy's story? Like, I feel like an end. Scope is interesting, but like I remember my biggest complaint about Ghost of Tsushima, it was like a third too long.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that game was like a third of the way. Like I usually am not the like games are too long guy, but like that one I was like, no, this ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Like this has run out of gas. So I'm hoping they learn from that, but I don't know if they will.
Part of that I did to myself because I got the platinum, where I think if I had not done that, I probably wouldn't have felt as strongly about it being too long.
Oh, I didn't do any of that, and I felt it was way too long.
Yeah. Well, and there's the other part to it, which is that there was only a handful of things to do, but there were so many iterations of them, and they weren't different enough from each other.
Yeah,
but then, like,
I think that's probably
the side quests were really excellent. Like the side stories, like the actual quest lines. So I'm hoping that they go further in that direction and less of, yo, let's follow this fox to this shrine.
Yeah, and it gets really old after a while,
yes.
And I think that's what eventually, like, you do a lot of the side quests, because I remember doing a lot of the side quests, and I did the ones that interested me, but like, there was stuff like that where it's like, this is really cool a couple times, and then you're like really over it. You just don't want to do it anymore. So hopefully they go, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it either way.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It looked really cool.
Coming next year, which is awesome.
That is really cool too. Yeah.
Here's the thing though, Justin.
Okay.
They announced the PlayStation 5 Pro 2 weeks before this. I would imagine that the people in charge of that reveal knew that this game was about to be announced.
You would think.
Why wouldn't you just delay your announcement of your new console until you have a legit new first-party, amazing-looking game to say, yo, this is going to look so much better on the PS5 Pro?
I don't know why they didn't just delay that announcement period to this thing and just make it a whole thing and just do that. It kind of boggled the mind. I guess they thought, I bet it's some sort of weird YouTube algorithm bullshit that some man in a corporate position has caught on to or something, is like, they can't be over this amount of time. So
Maybe it's something like that. Yeah.
They have to be two separate things or something like that.
Yeah. Or there's some sort of timetable thing where they're like, well, we have to announce it here so that we can announce that the pre-orders start here, right? Because maybe that announcement would have been too close to when they planned on opening the pre-orders. But I don't think that matters.
I don't think it does either.
I think once the thing was unveiled, like, you knew if you wanted to pre-order it or not. Like, you didn't really spend a lot. I mean, I spent some time thinking about it, but I think most people they knew right off the, like, by the end of that presentation, they decided, like, if they were even remotely interested or not.
Right.
I will say that, like, I pre-ordered my PS5 Pro 2 days after they went live on PlayStation Direct, which is telling.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they were still readily available, and
they're still readily available.
Well, yeah, the other retailers, like, those pre-orders went up, I think, today. And yeah, they're still readily available. So
yeah.
Obviously, the 30th anniversary ones, they're gone, but
they're
everybody
gone.
knew that.
Everybody knew that was coming.
Yeah.
That's not a secret. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Weird choice. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking on that one.
Yeah.
That would have been a really cool thing to, like, either show off at the very end or the very beginning and be like, look at all these cool things that are going to look great on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's confusing. I don't know. But then I'm not a corporate man. So
thank fuck.
I'm just a Justin man.
A Justin Ham man.
Sure.
So that actually leads into another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is that Square Enix had, like, officially announced, I think this was in an investor call, that Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, underperformed their, to their, whatever their expectations were. And along those lines, I actually saw this thing on Twitter. It was like a really long response to a tweet that the Night Sky Prince had made. I couldn't see the tweet that he had made because I actually have him muted on Twitter because.
Okay.
So he's a big Final Fantasy super fan. I've actually watched a lot of his videos on YouTube.
I know who they are.
I find him kind of he's the type of Final Fantasy super fan that I can't stand because he's the type of person who can never see any wrong in anything, and he's just so over the top positive about everything that Square Enix does that it's kind of sickening.
Yeah.
But the response, and I think his question must have been something along the lines of, like, surmising why 16 didn't sell up to snuff and 7 Rebirth. And I think a lot of what he was positing was like, well, people are intimidated by the number on the end of the title or, like, this or that. There was this really excellent response. It was like a 2-page long response and the crux of it was basically, no, younger people aren't intimidated by the number. Like, we understand that it's like an anthology series and you don't have to play them in order.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that, like, we can't afford the new shit. So, like, most of us can't afford a PS5 or a really nice PC. Like, we're playing on, like, old gaming laptops, or we're playing on a Switch or this or that. And so we're actually, like, and we are into RPGs, right? Like, we like Persona, we like a Dragon, we like Octopath Traveler, but those games are easier to run on the stuff that we have.
Yes.
And that got me really thinking, because I had not, so I think this is really important, especially with it's important with video game discourse, but I think it's important just across the board, is, like, being able to, like, take in new information, think about it, and be like, oh, I was wrong. And be able to, like, admit that. And this is a thing that I had just not thought of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think the reason is that, like, even when I was, like, did not have a lot of money it's not that I don't have a lot of money now, but, I can pay my bills and still, like, buy stuff, right? So I'm better off than a lot of people are these days. I understand that. I'm in a lot of debt, but that's because I'm an idiot.
Well, you'll have that.
But even when, like, I was just working like at a supermarket for minimum wage,
right?
I found a way to buy my video games and my consoles, right? Like, that's where my money went. I would, if I had to trade in a bunch of shit to, like, get the new thing, I would trade in a bunch of shit.
I did that,
or I would
too,
save up, or what have you. But like that was always the thing. Like that's where my money went, and like I would
Right.
find a way to make it work. Now sometimes I would have to wait a while, right? Like maybe I have to wait for a price drop on a console or something like that. Which,
Right.
as we've said, that doesn't happen as often as it used to. But even so, video games were my thing, so I made sure that I could get my video games over time.
Yep.
And I just kind of assumed that was kind of the way for other people, right? And
Mhm.
maybe it was up to a point.
Up to a point, probably, yeah.
But I do think that, like, Generation Z and younger, they can't really swing that anymore.
Right.
Games are cheaper comparatively than they've ever been.
Mhm.
Consoles are not. And
No.
consoles are holding their value.
Right.
And, you know, and I think it was also, and I guess I should have been thinking about this in it, you know, because I knew this stat, but like, you know, Steam will release like surveys of like you know, like the graphics cards that people are using. And by far, like the number one card is still the 1080.
1080. Yep.
And that is
Still
like a
holding
very
on.
old graphics card at this point, right?
Yeah.
Especially as like the 50 series is supposed to be coming out soon.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, and I guess this also, you know, I still maintain that, in my opinion, the Nintendo Switch is a bad piece of hardware.
Mhm.
But I do understand, like, why people dig it so much, right?
Right.
Part of it is the price. Part of it is the convenience factor. Part of it is that, like, it's got a vast library, even of games that really shouldn't be on that potato of a system, but they're there.
My friend at work, that's what he plays everything on.
Yeah.
And he will go in sometimes knowing that it's going to be bad. Like
Mhm.
he has bought some shit where he's like, I know that is not a recommended thing to do, but I did it anyway because I wanted to play that game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he doesn't care, you know, that's what he does.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, more power to him, right? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that comment got, like, it really had me thinking about that. And this kind of also piggybacks off of what I was saying about Metaphor earlier about,
Mhm.
you know, that it feels like this alternate reality where Square went in a different direction and prioritized different things in their game development than what they did.
Yes.
And look, I'm a fancy graphics guy.
Yeah.
I always think that there should be people that are pushing the boundaries of what is possible.
And there probably always will be.
There always will be,
to some
right?
degree.
Like,
yeah.
you know, I do think that, like, a game like The Last of Us would not be as impactful if it wasn't doing what it did graphically. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, like, there's plenty of cartoons out there that hit you emotionally with, like, the way that they're
Oh,
animated
yeah,
and stuff
for
like
sure.
that. There's ways that
Yeah.
you can get that. I remember back when we were talking about, like, the original version on the PS3 of Last of Us. Well, that was before your time. But
Yeah.
on Nerds Without Pants, we did a spoiler cast. And I talked about, like, the intro of that game, it being set in Austin, and, like,
Mhm.
seeing, like, the Austin skyline and all this shit popping off, and it looking
Right.
as real as it did was, like, that hit in a way that would not have if it was, like, a much more stylized
Right.
graphics setting.
I believe
right?
it. Yeah.
So yeah, I always want that to be a thing. And, you know, I think that, like, Square should have, they should have, like, a Final Fantasy game that comes out every few years that's like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe that this looks that good,
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing. Falcom announced that they're remaking Trails of the Sky for
Mhm.
the Switch. I'm assuming that it's going to come to other things, but at least initially, it's been announced for the Switch, and they have not made any announcements of it coming to anything else yet.
Okay.
But the footage that they showed of a remake, and admittedly, like, you know, Trails of the Sky, the original game, is like a very old school looking RPG.
Yeah.
This remake, it's fully 3D, but you can tell, just like art style wise and everything, that they're kind of keeping it on par with their other games, which is to say, they look very nice, they're very clean.
Mhm.
They're not going to, like, knock your socks off graphically, but they're getting the
Mhm.
job done. They're doing what they need to do. Right?
Yeah.
That's all Final Fantasy VII Remake needed to do. I've been saying that for years. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
granted, they're doing a different thing with that. So like, they're
They
trying to tell a
are.
different story. But, you know, but the scope is so wildly out of whack.
Oh, it's
With what
it's
the original
insane
game
now,
was.
But yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and so recently Yoshi P said in an interview that he feels that if they did a remake of Final Fantasy IX, that it wouldn't be able to be contained in one game.
Terrible idea.
And I saw a lot of people online saying like, no, don't add a bunch of bloat to it. It doesn't need that. And I'm like, that's not what he's saying.
No.
Because what he's thinking is we got to make this look as beautiful as it could possibly look, and we have to put all the graphics in it, and we have to have the best cutscenes. And it's like, no, just keep it super deformed. Just like do like a new engine. Just put everything that was in the original game on a single disc. You don't even have to voice it. You can maybe you voice like certain major cutscenes, but you don't voice the entire game. Like you keep the scope to a reasonable degree.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, 9 is the one you could easily stylize and
it's already stylized
and be awesome. I know.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's right there. You don't have to do the insane graphics.
Yeah.
I mean, in my personal opinion, I think that's what 7 Remake did wrong. Is if those games would have came out like a lot in more of a consecutive way, like they released the first one, we were all kind of like, okay, cool, let's see where this is going. There was a bit of a thing with it, and then we all played it. People liked it. Some people, you and I were like kind of like, all right, let's see where it goes. But like if the next one was coming out like next year, like if they would have had it scheduled like that,
or even 2 years apart, right?
Even like you need something like that. It's just like, okay, well now you got to wait for the story. But it's like, but I already kind of know the story, and now I have time to doubt what you're doing here because I don't know. To me, you need to release that kind of in a good span of time, like instead of like spacing it out the way they're doing. I think that's what's really hurting it because either people are going to play the first game. And they're either going to go like, okay, I didn't like it. So now you lose the people that didn't like it or whatever, or aren't going to buy it. Or, circumstances change for that person. So they don't buy the next game, or they wait for it to go on sale, or they wait for it to go on the thing that they're going to buy, that's another thing. Like,
I'm astounded that those games aren't on Xbox yet.
Or PC, or, I mean, the remake.
Remake's on PC.
Remakes on PC, but not the newest one.
Yeah.
And not 16 just came out for PC, but like I don't know. That's always interesting to me. I think they are learning their lesson on that one, that they need to like actually put games out for other fucking systems.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Than PlayStation. Like, that thing has been biting.
I mean, it was a thing that they had already learned, right? Like 13 and 15 were multi-platform.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. I mean, we don't know how much money Sony put up.
I don't know.
For them to make 16.
It might have been enough.
Yeah.
It might have been like, oh yeah, hey, it made up for it, so it's fine. I don't know, but yeah, but yes, that PlayStation 5 was hard to find for a while.
That too,
it's a pretty good chunk of it's a pretty good chunk of money if you can find it.
Yeah.
So you've limited your base down by this much,
Yeah,
if you put it on,
like we said, right? By the time people could actually find the systems, like the economy had shifted in such a way that they couldn't afford it. So
yeah, and okay, yeah, you mentioned a good point with the 1080 cards and stuff like that. Those are the most popular cards. And there's also people in other countries that like don't get a lot of the newer stuff, and they're poorer countries, and that are whatever. However, they're in a different situation. A lot of like those types of people that they will buy the newest thing on a PC, and that because you can turn the graphics all the way the fuck down,
right,
and you can get a semblance of that game to run. It may not be the craziest thing you've ever seen, but it runs, and it's
you can
the
experience
game.
The story and
you can yes, exactly, and there that's the thing with PC. That's interesting about it, I guess.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I keep coming back to with Square Enix in particular is this like slavish, like they really hitched their wagon to being like the cutting edge of graphics. And I blame Final Fantasy VII for this. That's where this all started. And
it probably, yeah.
And like they can't get away from it. And I'm not saying that, again, I don't think that they should get away from it completely, but like there was a time when they would announce 3 Final Fantasy games at the same time.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and okay, so like, look at Falcom, right? Look at Atlas, and look at Sega, especially Sega with the Like a Dragon games, right?
Mhm.
That and our RGG specifically. That is a studio that has released a game on average every year for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, there have been a couple times where there's been a year gap, but when you average it out, they've had a game a year for
now. Yes, I hear what you're saying, but they're kind of cheating.
They are kind of,
little
but
bit.
here's the thing, right? Obviously, they're reusing environments, which they can get away with because like their stories take place in the same cities.
Yes.
You can't really do that with a Final Fantasy game. But the other stuff that they're reusing is like animations, right? And like character models and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that like you can put like your base Yakuza, and I mean the actual Yakuza characters, like the mafia guys that you meet in the wild.
Right.
You can slap them in a fantasy garb for like a different game, right? You've already made the models. And like that's a thing, right? That like Square would never do that because they have to reinvent the wheel every time that they make a game.
No, you're right.
Like, what if they announce like, well, we here's Final Fantasy 17, 18, and 19. Final Fantasy 17 is like an old school throwback. It's like a 2D HD game that looks like Octopath Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy 18 is like a wildly different art style. It's a simpler style, like it's scoped to more of like a Trails game, right?
Okay.
And then Final Fantasy 19 is the holy shit, like this is going to blow your socks off in like 6 years game, right?
Yeah.
And even with their other games, right? Like I feel it like another problem just like across the board with like a lot of companies is that they're getting away from like diversifying and like having different scoped games and different types of games that occupy different niches and different markets.
It's weird. They were getting into that for a little bit there.
Yeah.
But they were doing it kind of in a weird way where they were like, here's what's that one, the Dio Field Chronicles or whatever, here's like this Valkyrie profile game,
but those they were just shitting out with no fanfare.
That's
no
what
marketing.
I mean. You have an opportunity to kind of like hit these niche markets, but like you should at least try to make them look like like they're competent and not like pieces of shit that you're throwing out there to die. And but they didn't do that. Like you barely know some of those games exist.
And like the new Mana game, it looks incredible and it reviewed really well.
It looks really good.
But they closed the studio like the week the game came out, and it's like, okay, so you had no confidence in this game, and it's like, and I kind of wanted that game to like sell a boatload just to like spite them, but the damage has already been done. So like
it's done. Yeah. It's what are you gonna do?
It's exceedingly frustrating, and I do feel that like that was the thing that I forgot to mention in the state of play, which kind of dovetails into this because of what I was about to say.
Okay, sure.
They showed the boss fight from Dragon Age Veilguard.
Oh yeah.
So my thing with Dragon Age the Veilguard, the first trailer that they showed at like not E3 this year, I thought looked like utter garbage. And then they showed some gameplay that I was like, okay, that looks all right.
Yeah.
And then this state of play came and they showed this boss fight. And I was like, oh, this looks like utter garbage.
Interesting.
I thought it was like a terrible look for that game. I thought like the action they were showing just like did not hit. I thought there's a cutscene that plays like during that sequence that I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is like, this is really stupid looking. I think the character designs are bad. I think, one of the things is that I think I'm still salty about Dragon Age 2 because like Origins was a very generic looking fantasy game. Dragon Age 2 established like a really interesting, unique look to that universe that then they threw out the window with Inquisition. And then
Dragon Age 2, correct me if I'm wrong, is all mostly in like one city though.
It is, but I'm talking about like the design of the elves, the Kunari, and the dwarves, and like dwarven architecture in particular. But especially the elves. Like the elves in Dragon Age 2, they're like very lithe, they're very slender, like they have like very like spindly arms. They don't look like elves in any other game.
Yeah, that's kind of how they are in most of the other Dragon Ages, aren't they?
No. Like in
To my memory,
in Origin, they're just like regular proportioned people with pointy ears. That's kind of how they look in Inquisition, to my memory.
Let's see.
And like the Kunari,
You got me curious now.
oh man, like I basically what I'm saying is I really fucking hate the Kunari design in Veilguard. I think it looks awful. They've got a 5 head. It's ridiculous.
If I remember correctly, isn't the gimmick of this one that they are in a different part of the overall world of the whole thing?
I mean, yeah, but that's not going to change the way the races look. I mean, maybe the humans are going to look a little different, like skin tone wise.
Well, yeah, just the overall. What they're wearing and
yeah, I'm talking about like actual just facial design and stuff like that, body design.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was getting at is that I really hope that Metaphor ends up blowing Dragon Age out of the water sales wise, but also I hope it blows Final Fantasy 16 out of the water sales wise, because I think they need to learn that there's a different way that you can go about RPGs these days, and it doesn't have to be Baldur's Gate 3. Right, Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of a lightning in the bottle situation, but I think that there's obviously a market for differently scoped games that still resonate with players, and it doesn't have to always be about the hottest graphics. And I say that as a person who loves the hottest graphics.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm now looking at Dragon Age 2 Elves. And they kind of just look like regular people for the most part. I don't.
Oh yeah, I totally disagree. Like their heads were shaped kind of weird. Their eyes were super big.
No, that's
like their arms were kind of skinny.
That's how Inquisition is too, though. Like for the most part,
Solus to me just looked like a regular dude with pointy ears and a bald head.
No, they still have the facial structure thing going on. At least as far as
his cheekbones are high, like the ones in 2. I will say that.
Well, it's mostly in the nose. They have that kind of almost looks vampiric a little bit. Yeah, no, I mean he's bald, sure, yeah. But yes. But yeah, no, it's Sarah kind of has the same thing going on with the facial structure. Yeah, I don't know, that Dragon Age elves look like Dragon Age elves to me.
I totally disagree. But I haven't played as much
agree to disagree on that one. Yeah.
I will say that the shit in Dragon Age Origins is generic as hell. And 2 had a much more distinct look that I feel that they then abandoned. But then it seems like they're also pivoting from what Inquisition did for this 4th one. So it's okay, so the series just doesn't have any visual identity. Okay, that's fine.
No, probably not.
I guess technically Final Fantasy doesn't either.
They're kind of yeah. I mean, it's kind of just generic fantasy for the most part. The Dragon Age stuff, always kind of has been to me.
Yeah, and I feel very differently about Dragon Age 2. I said it back at the time. I was oh man, this is what this series needed. These character designs actually look different from other fantasy games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of that can be different technology and stuff too, kind of playing into it. Because 2 had a character creator, right? It's just
yes.
The only reason I'm asking is I guess it depends on how they make all the other ones. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to go now. I'm sitting here going through this is somebody I don't actually know. The Origins I'm really foggy on. 2 I've never played. So yeah, I'd have to look more into this. But anyway, what else we got?
Last thing before we get into questions, comments, and concerns. This happened today. I don't know if we're going to go as far into this as possible because my voice is kind of going. But so I didn't realize that apparently there had been some people from the former Zaum collective that made Disco Elysium that had split off and announced a new spiritual successor game that they wanted to work on because, there's this whole shit show with what happened at Zaum and the corporate overlords that ended up owning them and everything. And basically, like, it was clear that any sequel to Disco Elysium, if it happened, was going to be just a bastardization of what the original set out to do. I had not heard that. But what happened today is one of the lead writers and one of the founders of the Zaum Collective announced a new project called Eternal Summer, and then released. It's this fucking really cool website that announces the formation of this game studio and art collective.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
And it says artistically driven, creative led, worker and player owned. And then he has a manifesto.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot. I don't think that I can do it.
I was gonna say,
like,
yeah, I don't think we got it.
I wanted to do a
I
dramatic
don't know if you
reading
got
of
it
It's
in.
late, and like my voice is going. Let's see. Okay, this is what you need to know right here. The profiteer knows that by keeping your dignity low, he will keep you crawling on the treadmill of passion until he lays you off for the sake of the red number in his book. We make games because we have to. It is our calling. Because we have no choice but to see the transformative potential of this youngest medium of human interaction. You can't turn away once you've seen the light, or it will always feel like everyone else in the world is doing something without you. There in the light, you try to abandon but can't, because, oh, the horror, it comes from inside you. And, like, I was reading this whole manifesto, dude, and, like, it gave me chills, and it brought a tear to my eye. Go off, comrade. Fucking A.
Yeah.
But that's very exciting, because, like, I remembered, like, hearing, like, a lot of stories, like, on Castle Super Beast, like, talking about, like, kind of what happened, like, with the making of Disco Elysium, and it sounds like that game should not exist, based on, like, the personalities and, like, what was going on at Zaum. But even so, like, the creative forces behind that game are still out there, and they're still trying to create. And so, I don't know if this ends up coming, if anything comes to fruition for this, but, like, it's on my radar, and, like, I'm super stoked if something does happen, because, you know, Disco Elysium is a game that I think if I had played it when it came out, I would have bounced right off of it. But playing it
you would have. I played it when it came out, yeah.
Things changed so much for me that year. And then also, like, just, like, them adding the dialogue, too.
I was gonna say, like, it was, I loved it. But, like, yeah, like, it was a tough sell to somebody else.
Well, and it wasn't necessarily like that. It wasn't voiced that was the that it would have been the problem.
No, I know.
It was very much the tone and, like, the bleakness of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I was in a very bleak place when I played it, and, like, it resonated in a way that it would not have before everything, all the shit went down in 2020. And so now it's like, yeah, whatever those creative minds do next, like, I need to see. So I'm very excited for that.
All right. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I went and basically after you put that on the Discord, I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for this email for the crowdfunding thing, and that's pretty much that. Yep.
Alrighty. Well, there's only one thing left to do before we get out of here.
All right.
We do have a segment called Questions, Comments, and Concerns. If you have a question, comment, or concern, you can email us. Our email address is thestageselectpod@gmail.com. You can DM us on Twitter at thestageselect. You can comment on our Patreon page if you're a patron. You can comment on the YouTube episodes if you want to do it that way. Also, you can go to our Discord. That's probably the easiest place to do it. There is a channel called Questions, Comments, and Concerns. But the first one comes to us from email. This is from Casey Curran, who says, what is your favorite and least favorite sports purely from a video game perspective, and a few games you love within the genre, not counting WWE wrestling?
Oh, okay. Easy. My favorite and least favorite? Favorite is probably hockey.
Oh,
hockey is really fun to play. And a video game wise. And I usually find some enjoyment in them for the most part. Least favorite. let's see. Out of them, I'm just gonna go with like the big major ones. Soccer might be my least favorite, actually, or football. Our international listeners.
Well, true. We are big in Belgium still.
Yeah, Julian, I don't want to ruin that by saying the wrong thing there. So that one, it's not that I don't like those games. They're kind of fun in their own way. But at the same time, they sometimes are just like annoying, and it might just be because I'm an American and don't know what the fuck I'm doing a lot of the time. And they just kind of expect you to know how to do certain things, and I'm like certain basic things about the game they kind of expect you to know, because they're like they expect you to be very European when you play it, and I'm very not. So it doesn't there are some arcadey ones that are kind of fun, I would say, but I forgot tennis exists.
That's another good title.
Yeah, I forgot tennis exists. That might actually be my favorite tennis, because tennis is fucking fun to play. I'm gonna stick with hockey though. Well, no, I had a really bad time with the most recent NHL game. No, fuck it, tennis. Final answer.
Okay, favorites in that genre.
Yeah.
No, but like some favorite games from.
There's really only a couple. I get top spins are really good. Virtua Tennis. I can't remember which numbers were good though. I know I played pretty much all of those games, or at least rented them and fucked with them.
I'm original Dreamcast one for Virtua Tennis.
Yeah, the newest 2K top spin is actually not bad. I like it a pretty decent amount. And the what's the other one? There was an AO tennis, which isn't, it's just Australian Open tennis, but it's called AO tennis. Don't ask me why. That one was pretty fun. And what's funny is everybody will be like, that one's not very good, and I'm like, I'm still having a great time playing this stupid thing. I don't know what it is. There's something relaxing about playing fucking tennis to me that I'll just do it.
For me, favorite sport is definitely basketball.
I figured that was going to be yours.
That's actually also like my favorite sport. Like if you force me to like sit down and watch a sport.
That's fair.
Bowling is way up there. My issue with watching bowling is that since it's a sport where you can have a perfect game, when you're watching professionals, it really just boils down to who's going to mess up.
Who's going to mess up first? Yeah, that's same as like darts or anything like that. Yeah. Although I do love the announcers in darts.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, they're it's just British guys saying numbers. It's great.
Oh, cool.
170. And you're just like, all right, yeah, this is good.
And then
no, people are going nuts,
are they really?
Man. They lose their shit in darts. It's awesome. Yeah.
Least favorite, it's probably baseball. Because I've never played a soccer game.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I have played baseball video games, and I just find them relatively boring.
No, that's fair. I get it.
Like, I'm not a big fan of football, like American football, but like I've played some football video games that I fucking love.
That are really fun. Yeah, for sure. No, that's completely fair. I have a few baseball games that I really like, and so I probably wouldn't put it there. But yeah. I totally that's pretty justified. I would think.
And then favorite basketball games. I mean, obviously, like NBA Street. Actually, Street 1. I know, like Volume 2 is kind of the more beloved one, but I played a lot more of the first NBA Street.
I liked all of them. They were pretty good. Yeah.
Also, I mean, obviously NBA Jam, right?
NBA Jam's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, NBA 2K for the Dreamcast. I really loved that game. And that was like a because obviously the first two I mentioned were like very arcadey, but like that was like probably the only time that I had fun with a sim basketball game. Yeah, I'm always randomly partial to Tecmo Super NBA Basketball for the Super NES. Though that is a fun basketball game to me. But yeah.
That was a fun question. I bet he didn't think I had an answer for that.
No, I think he knew you had an answer for that. I bet he didn't think I'd have an answer for that.
He was trying to stump you. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so heading over to Discord. This is going to be difficult because people have been having conversations in there.
Boy.
It's being hard. It's getting hard to. Let's see. Okay, that's the last one we answered. Okay.
We're doing good.
This one comes to us from Sassy Nurgling. Other than video games, what are some other favorite games to play? Tabletop, board games, card games, etc.
Oh, Magic the Gathering for me.
Yeah.
Easy. Slam dunk. I really actually been really tempted to fucking play Arena again. I haven't played Magic in a while. I spent many days in a comic book store playing Magic the Gathering. What were our other options? Just board games, card games, just other games, tabletop stuff. Oh man, other than Magic, I don't have a whole hell of a lot when it comes to the board game stuff. Not that I don't like it. It's just a lot of the time I will play one and be like, that was fun. And then completely forget what it was and then never do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
really guilty.
I really don't have anything for this. When I did go to a game night group, like I realized I was really bad at board games and card games. I guess the closest thing these days is like anytime that I go up to the Springs, like we get a good like 2 or 3 sessions of Cards Against Humanity in, and that's always a great time. Like every time, like we belly laugh. And
I've legit never played that.
Really?
Yeah, no, never played.
Man, I don't know how you would handle that game actually.
Yeah, I don't know either. I know what it is. I know what it's about. I've never played it.
Yeah, that's a because so much of it is like highly sexual, like.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of jokes. I handle a lot of that stuff better than you probably think I do, Julian. But I've learned to roll. You learn to roll with it at a certain point, and sometimes you just go with whatever. But
I think my favorite thing about Cards Against Humanity, and this is probably true with Apples to Apples as well. I just prefer the dirty version. Is like kind of figuring out your audience, right? Like especially if you're playing with someone that you don't know that well and you start to kind of suss them out. Like this is a true story. A friend with benefits that I had for a while, like the way that we connected, like the first time, like where we were kind of like, oh, you and I are kind of on a similar wavelength, is that we were at a party. She's a friend of a friend. And we were the only two who got the pixelated bukkake card. Like we knew what that meant, and we were laughing.
Okay,
and so that's not how we started our friends with benefits situation. That happened like years later. But like we talked about that as being like, oh no, I remember like you at that party because like we were the only ones who were like on that wavelength. Like,
yeah. I do like any 52 card deck thing. I will usually play it. Those are fun to me too. I will play some poker. I've sat for long periods of time and played fucking Texas Hold'em on a PC that shouldn't run anything.
Yeah.
On the internet with strangers for no money. I will do that.
Yeah. Okay, this next one on Discord comes to us from Philip, who says, what is the Citizen Kane of video games?
You first, Julian.
It is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, in the sense that it is a very influential, wildly overrated piece of art that doesn't really hold up very well, but you can understand why it's so influential in its time. Okay. Because I when I finally got around to watching Citizen Kane, I was like, this is considered the best movie ever made? This is boring as shit. And like I can I can value like why in its day it was like, holy shit, this is incredible. But like I've seen so much that's built off of it over the years that it's like, okay, this is whatever. I feel the same way about the Lord of the Rings books, where it's like, I understand why these are important. I don't enjoy them as books because I have read many other better fantasy books that have built on what was established here.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you on that. I've never seen Citizen Kane. I don't know if I'd like it or not. I know what it's. Yeah, I know. I kind of know the gist of it, and it never really sounded that fucking interesting. So yeah, that might be kind of a similar answer for me, because that's a game. But then again, that's a game I never got. But you're right. I do know it's an important one, and I do get why people like it and the influence it had. The only other one I would maybe say is, in that regard, for importance, would maybe be Grand Theft Auto 3.
I could see that.
Yeah, because that one, it set off a whole, but like it does not hold up very well. If you go back and play it, it's like kind of garbage. But man, it's 3 more now that we're about to have the 6th one or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are still losing their minds over that fucking franchise. So
yeah, someone had replied to it and mentioned Doom, but my thing there is that like Doom is just as fun and like amazing to play now as it was in '93. Obviously this is my opinion of Citizen Kane, but I really do feel that Citizen Kane as a movie now is just like
So if we take your opinion out of it, I'm not saying your opinion totally doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm saying what is like the general consensus of Citizen Kane? Is
that it's
it
the greatest
like
movie ever made?
Greatest movie ever made?
Yes.
Like and very, very influential. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if we're going by that standard, right? Oh God. Maybe Tetris.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Tetris, and this may. I mean, it's kind of a vanilla fucking answer, but like, I almost want to say Mario Brothers because of how like the original Mario Brothers because of how fucking much it set like so much shit on its head.
Yeah.
That might be it, but I mean, those games are still fun, though. If
we're taking
the point, if we're taking it at that, okay, so different interpretations here, different answers.
Yeah.
We'd have to go from there.
Yeah, because I feel if we're talking about just like greatest game ever made, I think that like Mario 3 is like a far superior game to Mario 2 or Mario 1.
I'll agree with it. I'll agree with it.
Yeah. So it's like, where do you decide that, right?
But I almost feel like it in this case, it almost has to be like it inspired X amount of things after it, right? It was the first of its kind, right?
Which, Mario Brothers is not the first video game.
It's not the first of its kind, but it
justifiably like everything that comes after, like you can trace back to that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It was so huge when it happened and so mind blowing that people couldn't stop. I mean, the Nintendo doesn't exist unless that game fucking happens probably today. So
yes.
All right. Okay. I guess that's my lame answer.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Let's see. This is one from Dennis75 who says, "You gents carrying on the Halloween Havoc tradition or coming up with a new spooktastic show?" So for you new listeners out there who did not listen to Nerds Without Pants, we used to do a episode every October called Halloween Havoc. Insert clever name here. Halloween Havoc named for the old WCW pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And that was actually Nerds Without Pants co-founder Rob Otone's idea. And then we just kind of kept going with it. And it kind of became a tradition. We're not going to continue that because that was the old show. This is the new show. And also, like, we don't necessarily have anything like specific planned, but it's also the stage select, which means you never know what to expect. So it kind of just gives us like leeway to do kind of whatever we want around this time.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about how much I hate Halloween all the time.
Yeah,
the whole episode.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is that like I'm the horror guy. Like I'm the Halloween guy. Justin is not.
I like horror to a certain extent, but then there's I don't know.
There's a line.
There's a line.
Yes.
There's a line. Yeah.
Now, I will say that old Nerds Without Pants listeners might have something very fun to look forward to before the end of this month.
Mhm.
I'm just going to leave it there. But when it happens, you'll definitely know, and I think you'll be very pleased.
There you go.
Yes. This next one comes to us from a new member to the Discord who has been very active and also has been going back from the beginning of the show. Anytime somebody starts with the beginning of the show, even the old one, I always start biting my nails because I'm like, oh God, they might, I don't know. I don't know if this shit's any good. But this person did listen to episode 4, which is the one that Mike Fallick was on all the way through. So I feel that if he stuck around after that, you're probably
there then yeah.
Yeah. But this is from 60x Self, who says, where does this community, well, this is actually, we'll answer this ourselves. Where does this community fall on roguelike versus roguelite? What's the distinction?
Oh, that's easy. There's a clear distinction. If you want to go for it, Julian, go nuts because you might have something brewing, but go ahead.
Well, why don't you say your thing first?
It's an easy answer. Roguelike, let's start. Roguelike is referring to the old game Rogue, which was a game that you basically played through and you died and it was permadeath.
And crucially, turn-based.
Yes. Well, it does. Yes. So if we're using the term roguelike, it is a game that is like Rogue.
Yes.
Roguelite is basically is kind of doing a run-based thing, but it's also adding elements that are making other runs that you will do a little less bad. Like Hades is a roguelite. Mm-hmm. Because you go through, you get the currency, you come back, you spend it on permanent upgrades, and then you go back through again. That is a roguelite. It is not quite rogue in its when it's not so much turn-based, Julian. That's the thing. It's the mechanic of runs.
But specifically, Rogue is a turn-based game. So like Shiren the Wanderer is much more a rogue like than anything else that's considered a roguelike, because
that's fair.
It is a run-based, turn-based game. Azure Dreams for the PlayStation 1.
Yes,
is that
you're not wrong, but at the same time, they're mostly referring to the run part of it, like in the modern context, in the modern parlance.
Yeah. Well, and here's my thing, and I've made a different version of this spiel many times on the old show.
Julian hates when you use any video game to describe another video game.
That's part of it.
That's it. That's the core of it. Go ahead.
But let me start off by saying that video game genre convention names are just kind of shit across the board.
They aren't the greatest. No.
And I will say that there have been kind of changes to my mentality on this over the years, mainly because I've just gotten tired.
I know.
So tired.
You can only fight it for so long, Julian.
I know.
They're just going to wear you down.
And language is an evolving thing, right? So my main issue, right, is that, Justin, have you ever played Rogue?
No, I've never played Rogue.
Have you ever seen Rogue?
I think I've seen it. Oh, in person? No, absolutely not. No.
Neither the fuck have I. Yeah, I had not even seen footage of Rogue until 2021 when Ben Pack was playing it on Giant Bomb.
Right. Who was the culprit of this? Who was the first game to start calling themselves a roguelike?
I don't think it was a game that called themselves that. I think it was probably someone that coined a game that was similar to Rogue.
And that's fair. And somebody else called it that.
Yes. And I don't know, I know Shiren the Wanderer is a very long-running series that is similar to this, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
And Rogue is curious. Such a PC-ass thing that, there could have been, tons of those games that came out on the PC that I have no knowledge of, because I didn't have any knowledge of Rogue.
No clue.
But yeah, I do think that it's very lazy and oftentimes misleading to just, insert game name and add like to it, right? More than roguelike, I hate Metroidvania.
Oh, I know you hate that one, yeah.
Well, especially because, like, up until very recently, there was not a version of Metroid or the Iga-made Castlevania games that anybody, like any, like, younger person would have had access to play that would even be able to draw that thing from. And if we want to get really, like, nerdy about it, Symphony of the Night is a Metroid-like.
Yeah, technically speaking, yeah.
You know, but again, it is a shorthand for a thing, right? People understand, like, gamers understand what you say when you say what you mean when you say Metroidvania.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I prefer search action because that's actually, I think, what Metroid called itself, like, back in the day, like in the
it's quite possible.
booklet.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
I also just think it sounds cooler.
It does sound pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't like Souls-like. I actually, and I, like, this is never going to get off the ground, but I've been calling those games death action RPGs. Because death is like the big, like, kind of unifying component of those types of games. And they all tend to be action RPGs.
I always liked, I think it was Wooly from Castle Super Beast would always bring up the corpse running aspect of it. And I always kind of thought of them as like corpse runners. Yeah. Because, like, you're running back to your corpse every time to get what you need or whatever and stuff like that. You're right. Death is a big part of it or whatever, but.
Yeah, because I feel it's also like the learning mechanic, right? Like, you learn by dying.
You learn by dying, pretty much. Yeah, you're never going to shake Souls-like, though.
No, you're not.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
You know, if we want to get back to, like, the roguelike and roguelite thing, I think it's just really semantics. Like, I just prefer to call those run-based games. Did it become popular, though, when Rogue Legacy happened? Yes. I feel that is the impetus for that. Which might actually be, like, where that one kind of really popped off at. And honestly, like, you know, now, like, you know, they've splintered off into so many things, right? Like, you know, there's a game that I saw during not E3 that, and I told you this at the time, it's not a roguelike. It's a Hades-like. Like, it is very much going for Hades, like, you know, capital H. Yeah. And that's cool, right? Because that's a game that definitely splintered off, that has caused, like, its own cottage, you know, like, genre. But I just prefer run-based game. And then you can just kind of append whatever subgenre to that you want, right? Run-based RPG, run-based action game, you know. Run-based card game, use that, right? Like, Balatro is a run-based card game. It's not a roguelite. It's a run-based card game. Well, it would be technically a roguelike because you're not really getting permanent upgrades every time. Oh, I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't know. Well, then again, I'm trying to think. No, I guess no, you're not. Well, sometimes you unlock new Jokers every now and then, so maybe it has some elements of it. I don't know. Yeah, but no, it's. I don't know. Video games are dumb. They are. Yeah. So is this show. Yeah. So are we. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I am too. I've made my peace with it. I was considered like a gifted child when I was in school, and then I found out that was not true. My parents taught me how to read before I got to school, and that set me up really good for the first few years. That's it. You'll have that. You'll have that on occasion. Yeah. You will have that. You know, I've come to grips with the fact that I spun wildly I spiraled in high school when I learned that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, and it was just really average and like lost all of my self-worth and got very depressed and I'm sorry really like lost track of like anything I want to do with my life, but I'm fine with it now. It doesn't haunt me daily. Why did this go down such a dark road all of a sudden? I just hated homework in school. That too. Well, I would always finish my homework at school. I refused. I fucking hated it. I was like, no, if this is to prepare me for the real world, you tell me how many times I will have to go home from a job and do more work from what the regular job is, because that sounds like a job I don't want to do. Yeah. This is bullshit. And I raged against that machine, and now I don't have homework anymore, so that's great. Actually, it's fine. Yeah. Well, you have this podcast. That's fine. That's not really homework, Julian. That's like... I'm sorry. Did Guilty Force not feel like homework to you? Because it sure as fuck did to me. That was pretty bad. Yeah, no, okay. That was pretty bad. Every now and then, yeah, okay. Yeah. That was pretty bad. You're right.
I forget sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, that was like 5 hours ago that we recorded that. So
Yeah, well, I'm trying to scrub that game from my brain forever. So yeah,
it'll never be clean again.
Oh no, absolutely not. Actually, I should. I still have it installed. I think I should probably do something about that.
You should definitely do something about that.
Yeah, I'm doing it right. I just did it.
There you go.
It's great. Perfect.
Proud of you.
Done. Yeah, I forgot.
All right. Well, you know what? I think that's a show, Justin.
That's a show, Julian.
It's a hell of a show. That's
a long show.
Beefy. This might be the longest one we've done.
You had a lot to say about news.
I did. There was more actually that I cut out.
I know. So I got on here today and I looked at the notes and I was like, Julian wants to fucking do like a 6-hour podcast tonight. And I'm like,
I missed it.
I know you did. You were fucking amped. I
don't know what the fuck I'm going to do when we go on hiatus at the end of the year. Like that's like 6 weeks off. Like I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
We'll be fine.
Yeah. We'll probably still record Suffer Selects during that time. Well, a Suffer Select. So there's that.
Yeah.
But that's not the same. Might just have to like convince you to just like talk to me for like once in a while. Just be like,
that's fine. I don't give a shit.
I haven't talked about shit. No. The show will not be gone for 6 weeks. We'll be releasing episodes.
You'll never see anything. You won't know a thing.
Yeah. There might be like a 1 or 2 week like gap where there's nothing, but that's not the plan. Like we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Stop scaring people. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time that we've done it on this show, right? Like it was a normal thing on NWP, but we got people who were not aware of that show.
We'll figure it out.
We will. But you can find us on the internet, Justin.
I'm at Tyrone_Swift on Twitter.com, X, whatever the fuck it is. I don't care. I'm not really on it very much, but if you message me on there, I will respond to it.
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Most I see it if it pops up on the thing. Nobody really tags me on anything, so I'm pretty safe.
Yeah.
You can find me at Tyrone Swift on twitch.tv/Tyrone Swift. That's what I was trying to do it. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
I'm still playing Star Trek there, and then eventually I think I'm going to play 1,000 Times Resist, which is a good game. And if you are curious about it, come watch me play it eventually. It might be a few streams from now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Also,
Card Shop Simulator.
I'll get there eventually. Maybe you know what? I might play that in between the two.
Yeah.
Something like that. That might be kind of all right. Also, Tyrone Swift TV at youtube.com.
Yes.
And that's where all the old stuff is.
You're getting some decent views on your videos on YouTube. I see them pop up on my subscription feed. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's got like,
am I?
Yeah, like,
I haven't looked in a little while.
20 views on.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. That's good for me.
Nothing.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
that's fine. I haven't looked in a while.
There's people that I know that have been doing like YouTube for a long time that like they'll put a video up and it's like there's like one view and like they've been doing it like way longer than we've been messing with that shit.
Well, that's good. That's fine. You know what? That's what you just put the pretty Korean girls on your channel, and it'll all take care of itself. You know.
They're Chinese, Justin. Don't be racist. You've been playing Chinese.
You're right. They are from China. Hey, there are Korean ones too. That's why I'm getting confused.
Oh, yeah.
There totally are. And
well, and you also have to prepare for the possibility of secret Koreans. That is what
you
Like a Dragon has taught me.
Yes, you never know.
Yes.
Yeah. No. It's the Chinese dating sim genre is just confusing, Julian. It's just fucking confusing. Yeah. Like I know. Okay. Here's the funny thing. Let me look at it real quick while we're on this topic. Who cares? There's one, and they're both basically the same concept, but one is Chinese and one of them's not. Okay, we have To Be in Love with Girls Group, or we have My Love with the Girls Group. Now, you tell me, Julian, which one of those is Chinese and which one is Korean.
I feel like the first one is the Chinese one.
And I believe you are incorrect.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, take that.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me go confirm. I might actually be wrong.
The fun part is to determine which game came out first and then decide which one is the knockoff.
Yeah.
I'm betting it's the Chinese one.
Oh, actually, no. I stand corrected, Julian. You were correct. Well done.
There we go. I think I have a pretty good read on like, you know, the weird like construction of English titles from non-English speaking countries.
Yep. You nailed it. I take it back. Yeah, To Be in Love with Girls Group was my love with the girls group is the Korean one. But it's not confusing at all. There's also a couple other Korean ones that I've found. Oh man, what a fucking genre that is, man. Anyway,
I want a New Zealand dating sim.
Where are you at on the internet, Julian? You tell them that.
I'm on Twitter at Julian_Titus. Once again, you can find the show at Stage Select Pod. Our wonderful theme song and interstitial tracks come to us from Megan McDuffie. Just search for her online. She's also got her information in the show notes. Consider joining the Discord and all that good stuff. Our link tree is also in the show notes. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Stage Select. I've been Julian Titus. He's been Justin Ham. We've been the Stage Select. Signing off.
The Stage Select is copyrighted and owned by Space Monkey Mafia Productions, specializing in independent podcasting. Please consider sharing the show with your friends and support us by joining our Patreon or donating to our coffee. Thank you, and good night.